Gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, 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 won't you let the light shine through? In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you,
wins the BCS National Championship.
Glad to be back.
Glad to be back.
Hashtag the return.
Back by popular demand.
I'll be honest, you guys are the only sports talk show I listen to now.
Then you're going for the over there, unless you expect a shutout.
I mean, come on.
Defense in non-power 5.
Guys, are you ready?
Where Birmingham goes to talk football. This is Under Review. And here we go again. Under Review, back for another loaded show. Coaching carousel, Iron Bowl reaction. I mean, we got everything to react to, guys. It's been a big weekend for football. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. It was a great Thanksgiving weekend for us. I mean, yeah.
Happy belated.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't get to
Christmas
celebrate.
Season.
We didn't get to celebrate Thanksgiving last week with each other.
Jump past
so, you know,
Christmas season.
Hey, yeah,
Christmas
we're going right to Christmas
season.
celebration with the fireplace
Christmas
behind us.
season.
So great stuff.
Cold.
If you're listening to us on the podcast or joining us on Facebook, we appreciate you guys. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. Big weekend for college football.
Oh,
Huge.
man.
A lot to
man.
talk about.
Is it a
today,
lot of
that's
college
for sure.
football? A lot of college football.
I literally texted you. I said, Steven, just for the rundown this week, just load it up with college football.
It's loaded.
There's just too much to talk about. Too many playoff implications on the line this week.
It is loaded.
We got a breakdown of all the games coming up, but we're going to start, as we do every single show, with our champagne and whiskey. Who is popping the bottles and who's sipping something strong? Steven, we'll start with you, my man.
Do we want to go? Do you want me to start with whiskey or champagne? What do you want?
Which one's your heavier one? I feel
I've
like,
got
I
two
feel like that's your
champagnes.
dependent. You got
I've
two
got-
champagnes? Well, let's hear those.
Well,
hear those
I was
first.
going to say, one I'm not going to talk about. One I will. So my first champagne is for those that are local. Thompson High School. They won their 3rd state championship in a row.
The Warriors.
Yeah, I live right down the street from Thompson. They beat Central Phoenix, I think.
Central Phoenix City?
Yeah,
Yep.
38 to 22.
It was a shellacking.
It
Wow.
was. Thompson was winning from the start. Their quarterbacks looked well. I say quarterbacks because their starter got hurt, and then he came back later. But he played really well. He's a North Carolina commit.
Wow, so they actually had their starting guy go down, and they still won.
Both
Wow.
their backups good too because he played a few games. He
The
played.
rich just get richer.
I
with
know
Thompson.
Thompson's really, really good. They've got a couple of. They got the number one recruit in the state in Jeremiah Alexander on defensive end. So they're just the rich
loaded
keep getting
every year.
richer, and
Loaded.
3-time state championships probably going to repeat again in the 4th year. I mean, they looked unstoppable. The only
They're
reason
the
they
new Hoover.
well, they, as I say, they only lost one game, and it was to Hoover. But they
And
started
they
quarterback.
avenged that loss though. in
They
the
did,
playoffs, right?
They did, and they
Yeah.
whooped Hoover
And
in
just
the playoffs.
whooped them the second time.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the first time they were up, I think by like 10, and then they didn't score another point in the second half. Hoover ended up coming back and winning late in the game.
It's
So,
just stupid.
but yeah,
Wow.
Thompson, really, really good football team. If you haven't watched them, they're pretty much as good. It's like watching. Tyler and I have been working the state championships, and it is like literally watching high school teams, and then Thompson looks like a college team. It's crazy the difference.
And their fans travel well too.
Oh,
They have a huge
Protective was
following.
packed out. Protective was. It looked bigger than a UAB game, which is
Wow.
sad for
Hey,
UAB.
hey, whoa. Hey.
Sad for UAB.
Some of our listeners might be offended by that, Stephen. Whoa, now. Hold up.
Yeah. And then my other champagne, we'll talk about it more later, is Jim Harbaugh. He's got to be sipping some champagne. He finally gets over the Ohio State hump.
Silence the critics,
Finally. You know, he takes a
especially on this show.
Yes,
This shows some
yes.
critics too.
He
so.
takes a pay decrease this offseason. I think he moved some coordinators around and everything like that, and then finally pays
But
off.
an extension probably is coming after this, right? After that win,
if
come
he
on.
can, an extension, I don't know. He's still got like
Oh,
3 or
that's
4
true.
years
That's
left
true. That's
because he took that pay decrease. So he took the salary restructure there.
Okay, well, maybe not an extension, but I'd say he's safe.
He's
right?
safe. Yes, his
After
seat
that-
got
that
a
win,
lot cooler. After
a
that.
lot.
Cool.
We'll talk about that.
And then my whiskey, we'll move on, and we will talk about this one more later too. But I wanted to kind of really harp on it. My whiskey's got to be Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
They lost Lincoln Riley, their coach, who has just led them straight out of the Bob Stoops era into a new era of high-powered offense, Heisman winners everywhere, playoffs consistently, very consistently. They lose him. He says, in an interview that he only found out about it the day before, I think, or the day of. Definitely not true because he already bought a house in L.A., so that's kind of awkward if he just found out about it. And then he's also brought, I think, most of his assistants with him. Oklahoma.
So you had to have already talked to your assistants.
Yeah,
about it, right?
Oklahoma, who had the, I think, number one quarterback going in. That quarterback is already decommitted. I believe he's committed to USC now.
Of course.
But he
of
immediately
course.
decommitted from Oklahoma.
He's following the head coach, of course.
Yep. So Oklahoma is now tanked in recruiting for 2022. And Lincoln Riley has brought assistants. And there was an article that came out. You sent it, and I saw it a little bit earlier on Twitter before you sent it. Article came out that he had an assistant that was employed by Oklahoma that he had already had working at USC recruiting players. So Oklahoma is just taking it from every angle from Lincoln Riley.
It
He
does
has
not look
absolutely.
good
well, there's
on
coaches
Lincoln Riley's
leaving.
part,
There's,
but-
there's coaches leaving, right?
Yes.
Which is fine. No problem if you want to leave,
Yes.
do a different job, whatever. And there's coaches actually like absolutely just screwing a program.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley has just given the double birds to Oklahoma on his way out. Instead of a peace sign.
It's a dirty business. A business can be tricky sometimes. And
He's-
Lincoln is definitely
As I say,
exercising
he has been in the dumps
some
with this.
business with
Yes,
it. So, yes, I agree with you.
So let's move on to your
So-
champagne and whiskey.
Well, I'm going to stick in the state, too. JSU hiring Rich Rodriguez. I think he's
Huge
popping some
hire.
champagne. That's a huge hire for JSU, I think, because that's a guy with big program experience. This guy coached at Michigan, Arizona, West Virginia, and he's won at those programs. He has a winning record overall. And I just think it's funny. I think, as we talk about the champagne and whatnot, that he gets a job in Alabama. As we all know, before Nick Saban took the job, he was actually probably the favorite to be the next Alabama head coach. And it was actually his wife who seemed to be the determining factor as to why he didn't take that job.
Paperwork didn't go through.
Paperwork didn't go through, and she said it was because of the criticism that they were taking on the Paul Feinbaum show. Of course, Feinbaum retracted that statement, said I had nothing to do with it, but then she said clearly that she didn't feel comfortable, that she didn't want to take the scrutiny and all the,
Well, yeah, I was
the
gonna say,
blame whenever
if you can't take
you
the Paul
can't handle
Feinbaum
it.
before
Yeah.
you even get the job, then you don't get
You
the job.
can't take the criticism that comes with being the Alabama head coach if you can't take a few hours on the Feinbaum show. Sorry. But so he's obviously replacing Coach Gross, who they mutually come to agree at JSU that he's no longer be the head coach after going 72-26 in 8 seasons. Coach Gross did. Rodriguez is 163 and 119 and 2 ties. And I'm not sure how he has 2 ties on his record in an era of football where I don't think you can end games in tie. I don't know where those ties would have came from. They had to have been when he was coaching at a different level or something like that. Had to have been. But anyways, and JSU will join the Conference USA in 2023, so they could not have picked a better coach, I think, that they had a plethora of to take them into Conference USA play than maybe Coach Rodriguez with that offense that he runs. So
Great hire.
that's my champagne. My whiskey goes to the UTSA Roadrunners.
Oof.
That team was very close to a perfect season. After only 9 seasons into a program's history of playing football, so close. And they lose to a team that, Stephen, a month ago was 1-6,
I
was
know,
North Texas.
I know.
Of all UAB couldn't beat them.
Well, as I say,
but
they
North Texas.
should have lost to UAB. We don't have to get into that game, but they should
Well,
have
we
lost.
didn't get to talk about it,
We
so,
didn't.
I mean-
we didn't. But UAB, we had this conversation over text and everything like
did.
that. UAB could have gone for it. They were up by, I think, what were they up by 6?
Yes.
They were up by
Yes.
6. They had the ball. If they get a first down, it was 4th and inches. If they get a first down there, then they can just kneel the game out. They don't. UTSA marches, I think, 70-something yards. Gets a
77
touchdown
yards,
on
I
a
think,
tipped
yeah.
pass.
Oh, yeah.
And then they seal the victory there. So UAB should have won that one. And then I believe they had another close victory. UTSA did.
Yeah, they
maybe
did.
a week before
over
that.
Southern Miss, yeah.
Southern Miss, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So they kind of had it coming. They were teetering with it a bit there.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
North Texas, they're hot they're hot at the end of the season because they
Yeah,
were 1-6
5 straight.
As I say, but they've
Yeah,
won a bunch
they're
here
bowl
lately.
eligible now.
So yeah,
So props to the Mean Green, but UTSA tough loss.
that was a bad loss
So,
too. It wasn't like one of those
Oh, no, it was
UAB.
45-23.
I know.
was
It wasn't
a
close.
Dominant.
It wasn't
loss.
close.
Not close at all. So
I saw that and I couldn't believe it.
Roadrunners were close to perfection, but sipping some whiskey, this week because man, so close. Tyler,
They could have been like UCF national champs. Their own national champs.
They could still win the conference. So
I know, but I'm just saying if they go undefeated.
Oh right, they could just self-proclaim
Yeah.
the national.
Yeah.
Oh God, you're
They
right.
could
right,
pull a
right,
UCF.
right?
'Cause
Unless Georgia stays undefeated, then they, obviously they can't dispute that, right?
Didn't they? What was Alabama undefeated? No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
They lost to Auburn. Remember?
They did.
year.
They did.
And
But then they won the
UCF
national
beat Auburn,
championship. What year
correct?
was that? 2016?
That was 2016 or 20? Yeah. Oh no. Yeah,
16.
Yeah.
It had to be 16.
2016.
Yep.
Yeah. Tyler, who's popping champagne for you?
Poppin' champagne is the Florida Gators. So far, I think they got the best hire out of
Really?
all the coaches.
Okay.
Under the
Really?
radar. I won't
Okay.
say overall best hire.
Okay.
A lot of
Not the
people,
sexiest hire.
A lot
but
of people are going to say Lincoln Riley going to USC, sexiest hire. I think the best under the radar hire is Billy Napier.
best fit for the job, you'd say?
Yeah, absolutely. He finished 39-12 for the Raging Cajuns over the past 4
Raging Cajuns.
seasons.
That's like my favorite name in
I
football.
know,
I
man.
love it.
It's nice. And 27-5 record in the Sun Belt. Billy Napier had a stint with Alabama as a receivers coach and then went to the Chicago Bears when they actually had good
The Bears.
receivers. Yep. When they had good receivers. And then he went to obviously Louisiana, now going to the Florida Gators. Guys, I think that is a great hire. And then for who's sipping whiskey over these past 2 weeks. I would say the Oklahoma Sooners. You lose your coach.
Stole mine.
Yeah. No, I just kind of wanted to go off of, and then you lose your quarterback, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
He's transferring as
transferring.
well.
And then, questions.
Caleb Williams also might be a transferring as well.
Caleb
They said
Williams,
that's not
what
on the
I was about to
table.
bring up,
I saw a receiver as well. A couple of other players they're
they're gonna
transferring
lose
out. So
they-
Oklahoma is going to lose, like Tyler said. I mean, that
Whoever-
is definitely a fan base that's sitting there thinking, "Wow, what is our team going to look like next
I was
year?"
about to say, whoever they hire will be big time because you go from
Your
Oklahoma's
recruiting's tanking, like you said.
Yeah, well, they're recruiting. Their recruiting's
Your veterans
taking
are transferring
fast.
out.
And then also you got to think Oklahoma has been successful. How many? I mean, since Bob Stoops started coaching.
I mean,
how many years was that ago?
Since I think it was
In the 90s when he started
since
coaching?
Bob Stoops, they've had Lincoln Riley and Bob Stoops, and then
That's what I'm saying though. When did they start with Bob Stoops? So the 90s.
Bob Stoops
Yeah,
been there.
it was in the
He was there
90s,
forever,
He was
and
there
they've
for a
been
long time,
successful.
20 years,
I don't
I
know if
believe.
what their success was like before that, but you got to think that's 30 years of success that Oklahoma's had. If they don't make the right hire right here, then they're going off of 30 years.
you'll be
of
going
success.
into the SEC.
As an
With
SEC
that.
fan too, I
Wow.
was so excited about seeing Lincoln
Lincoln Riley,
Riley
yeah.
at Oklahoma in the SEC,
It-
and now
it
we
is.
don't.
As
get
I
to
say,
see
we
that.
can
You're
talk
right.
about that later too, but I think he's a little scared of the SEC. I think he saw the Pac-12 over there and said, "Hey, that's a very winnable conference." USC,
As
big
if
job.
the Big 12 was.
Definitely.
I was about to say, but you get Oklahoma is not like There's nothing really exciting about Norman, Oklahoma.
There's
but
not.
There's a lot
There
exciting
never
about.
has been.
And
Never
you
has
got to
been.
look at the quarterbacks right now. You have C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, two of the top Heisman candidates, two of the top quarterbacks in all of college football. They're both from L.A.
Yeah.
So you got to think that hotbed, which is Lincoln Riley's specialty, is quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The hotbed for quarterbacks, especially, and skill players in L.A. and in Southern California. I mean, they're going to get. I feel like they would
Oh,
get
it's
a
a
lot
slam
more
dunk.
recruits.
Don't forget Matt
Yeah.
Corral too from the LA.
Matt
area.
Corral, yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like every good quarterback, it seems like right now, has been coming from Southern
The LA,
California.
yeah, you're right.
So now USC can just say, so Lincoln Riley's thinking is, hey, I can just get all these quarterbacks. I don't have to recruit them to Norman, Oklahoma. I can
Yes.
recruit them straight home
Straight to
LA.
LA. Yep.
That's going to be so much easier. And then the Pac-12, as we've seen, is just super winnable. Like it's
Yeah.
begging somebody to just break out of there. So you can finally get maybe we'll actually see a Pac-12 team in the college football playoff. Because
Yeah,
Oregon's
yeah.
been the only representative, I think.
Washington.
Oh, yes, Washington.
The,
But they got
the very first year.
which, I mean, fair enough. I
very
guess
first
Oregon
year,
probably
yep.
would too. But yeah.
Well, that's some good champagne and whiskeys. And let's get to the thing that's, there's one team from the state that's popping champagne and the team maybe sipping some whiskey. And the Iron Bowl, as it was, maybe one of the best Iron Bowls ever. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're going to talk
one of the
about
most
it here shortly,
exciting.
but one of the most exciting ones for sure. And
Yeah.
Steven put it in the rundown that it's obviously the first overtime Iron Bowl, which I can't believe that. Out
can't
of all
either.
the close Iron Bowls you've had.
First
but-
overtime and then it goes 4.
yeah, and it just so happens that this year was the year where they installed the new
The 2-point
overtime
conversion.
rule.
Yeah.
So now you have that exciting
Very
play, but-
weird. Very weird.
Is it
I feel
not?
like
Yeah.
I feel like we
I
haven't
thought
talked
so.
about it this year at all. I guess it happened in the Penn State,
It's only
Illinois.
happened in those two games, right? Really?
Right. I think so. It might have happened in
haven't
other
seen it
games.
in any
I haven't
other
either.
games.
In no other prominent games, anyways.
Right.
But it's very. I feel like the old overtime rules, and you can say what you want to about them. Like it takes forever. It makes the game last a lot longer. But I feel like at least by the end of that, the best team still won. Right.
Yeah. Just one
Because
play though each overtime.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like you get a
wow.
lot more fluky with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like Penn State's better than Illinois, but Penn State lost that game.
Just one play makes the difference. That's crazy. Now, as far as the game goes, it was an ugly game for 59 minutes, guys. Let's not sugarcoat
the
it.
offenses-
That was a awful game.
Both
to
fan
watch.
bases can agree. I was there, so I was in Auburn for this. Both offenses were pitiful. I mean, pitiful offensive performances from both sides of the ball. Like, just both sides of the ball couldn't do anything. They were going 3 and outs. The play calling was terrible. They couldn't get anything going, passing or running. I could not believe.
I guess you
looked
could
up,
just say it was beautiful defense, though, Steven, right?
It was great defense from both sides. Both defensive lines
Yes.
played outstanding. So
They
both
did, and
defensive
they did.
lines, credit to them. But I would say that it was just great defense, but the offensive play calling for both sides. So this
Not
is
very
Alabama
good.
or Auburn.
Not very good.
Pitiful play calling.
Maybe Bill
all
O'Brien
around.
and Mike Bobo's worst games.
Oh
calling
my gosh! And I think
offensively.
honestly, Bill O'Brien. We're going to talk about coaching carousel at the end of this college football talk here, but I think he honestly messed himself up out of jobs from that
game,
coaching
yeah.
that game. And now you can blame it on the offensive line for Alabama because they are
not good.
pitiful performance.
Not good
but
at all. Yeah,
I honestly think he lost himself some job offers after that play
and
calling.
you could be right. You could be right.
Yeah.
because it was bad. And I just want to just the total yards here, the rushing yards. I could not believe the rushing yards that Alabama. I could not believe Alabama got 71 rushing yards. If you were watching that game live, I would have said Alabama had 30 rushing yards
But
total.
what's even more astounding is Auburn had 22.
I know.
22.
You know what's crazy? Well, I think they count sack yards in that too.
They do,
because,
and they do, and quarterback runs and whatnot. They all are factored
right
in
because
that. So
Tank Bigsby, I didn't realize this either. He had 29 carries. He only had 63 yards off of 29
it didn't
carries.
Seem
but-
like he had 29.
Really?
carries
That's what
watching
I'm
the
saying.
game, you know?
Like if you go back and look at the stats for this game, it's crazy. I would have bet my life that Brian Robinson averaged way less than 4.4 yards per carry. He had 16,
averaged 4.4 yards.
That's what I'm saying. 16. Well, you got to think though, it's because he had that 37-yard rush.
That's true.
And if you take that 37-yard rush out,
how many carries did he have? Actually,
16 carries for 71 yards. I would have bet my life.
Do you
he
think,
had
now,
more
now, Steve-
carries
now,
for less
Steven,
yards.
because you've been critical of this at times, especially in the A&M game.
Yeah.
Do you think that Bill O'Brien might have? Because you've said this before. Did he go away from the running game a little too soon in this Auburn game?
So I would say that, but I was there. So the crowd. I also want to shout out the Auburn crowd. That was one of the most.
They showed up.
That was one
They
of
showed up.
the best experiences in a college stadium I've ever been to. They were loud. You could tell. I don't know. Maybe you can speak to this watching the broadcast. You could tell they're on the field. Alabama couldn't hear the play calls. That was messing them up so bad.
Iron Bowls at Jordan Hare they're a different breed.
They're a different breed.
They're a different breed of
And,
animal.
Saban's lost, what, 2 of the last 3 there before this game?
That has been a house of horrors for Coach Saban.
Yeah, it's crazy.
An absolute house of horrors.
Well, as I say, they were so
So-
loud that our DBs, that Alabama's DBs, did not know the play call. So they would be looking at the line. They'd be talking to Henry To'oTo'o as the play started.
Wow.
So they're not looking at the wide receivers. And then, as you could see, there's multiple delay of games for Alabama.
Yes.
And I had to call at least one timeout to prevent a delay of game, is because they would have the play call, and then Bryce Young would have to go up to the line and the wide receivers multiple times to tell them because they couldn't hear.
Yeah.
They didn't know. So shout out the Jordan Hare Stadium because they showed up, showed out, and really, really helped Auburn's team.
I will say this though, for the struggle for the defensive 59 minutes, whatever the game was, that drive that happened at the end of the game was, I think, a staple mark for Bryce Young. Because he has stayed the course all season long. And even though with the bad offensive line, the shuffling of the running back field, with everything considered with this season, the ups and downs, he's been the one consistent factor for Alabama all season long.
I agree.
Yeah,
The defense has been up and down. The offensive line's been up and down. You know, the running game, it's been interchangeable and whatnot. But the one thing that has been consistent about Alabama all season long is they have gotten every ounce out of Bryce Young. And he delivered and gave one of the most memorable drives that I've ever seen in an Iron Bowl history. A 97-yard drive to tie the game. Yeah. And then those huge throws, which, can we just go ahead and give a shout-out to Slade Bolden real quick? Because that is one of the most reliable targets I've ever seen. When Bryce Young needs a throw the most, he goes to him 9 times out of 10.
Slade Bolden?
Slade Bolden.
Do you know what his stats were for the game? I think he meant John Mechie.
No. John Mechie's your big play guy. As soon as James
What player are you
I'm just
talking
saying.
about?
Do you want to know his?
Look at the overtime. Look at the overtime.
I'm just talking.
Who'd they throw to
I'm
in
talking.
overtime?
I'm talking about.
They
I'm
threw
looking
it
at
to
the box
Mechie
score
every time.
I'm looking at the box score. Slade Bolden's a good player.
No. Hey,
Slade Bolden's a good player. I'm not saying that. Shout out Slade Bolden. I'm just look at the box score.
Steven.
I'm trying to help you, Cole, before you go on it.
No.
I'm trying to help you.
John Mechie is definitely a go-to guy that he has to be that.
I agree.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
He had Slade Bolden. He's a great player. Great player. He's a great slot receiver, right? No shame on Slade Bolden. He had 1 reception for 6 yards. John Mechie. Now I will say that when Jameson was, I'm trying to help you.
What player are you talking
I don't know. Shout out Ja'Cory Brooks.
I'm talking about the overtime play.
That was John Mechie.
No, not the fourth. The first overtime. Who caught the touchdown pass?
It was probably Slade Bolden.
It was Slade Bolden.
He did. You know what? That was his one catch.
Okay. I was just trying to tell you. They needed a
Shout out Ja'Cory Brooks.
Was that not after Auburn had already scored a touchdown and Alabama had to score?
Alabama scored first in the first overtime.
Okay, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
trying to save you.
forgot.
I was
forgot.
trying.
I'm sorry. You're right.
I was trying to save you.
Okay, you're
Because
right.
the argument was, for a lot of Auburn fans and analysts, was that Auburn should have gone for 2 after that first overtime. Because they had a chance to win it right there. If they go for 2, Alabama's obviously been marching since that drive. They've been playing really well. Alabama got kind of the momentum going.
Yes.
The argument was that Auburn should have just gone for 2 after that first overtime, and they can win or lose right there. They control. The argument was that Auburn can control it a little bit better if they get that, obviously, do that 2-point conversion.
I mean, in hindsight, yes.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, hindsight's 2020, so I mean, whatever. But yeah, I would say shout out Ja'Cory Brooks, the unknown player, kind of coming
Very
into
much
the
Stepping
so.
up when
I-
Jameson
Yeah.
Williams.
he had a great sideline catch on that last drive, and then obviously he has that 30-something yard touchdown catch or 28-yard touchdown
Yes.
catch
Yes.
to get Alabama's first touchdown drive there going.
I will say that in that final drive when Ja'Cory Brooks scored, they ran the same play earlier, like 3 plays earlier, to
Yeah.
Ja'Cory Brooks, but
Yep.
he misread the route.
Yep.
So
And then,
he ran
and
a
then
hook.
Jaleel
instead of a
Billingsley
flop.
gets that big 4th down. I think it was like 4th and 7. He gets like
I mean,
16
that
yards.
was
huge,
huge.
4th down conversion.
Huge.
Wow.
Bryce Young threw
Huge.
a dot. On
He
that
did.
play.
He did. So
Him
there.
and
I mean,
Stroud.
I will say Bryce Young's got that. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts with his, like, if you look at his face or see him in those big moments, he doesn't seem to be shaken.
He's not phased
I
at
will
all.
say though, in that first half, watching him in the backfield, he looked scared just from his actions, not necessarily his facial expressions, because every time the ball was snapped, and this could be just speaking to the poor offensive line play, he was jittery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He
So
was.
there's quarterbacks that, where there's a normal 6-step drop back or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
He would, as soon as he did his drop back, he would start just jumping around. Like, he couldn't stand still. And granted, I mean, he got sacked 7 times. So it's not like he didn't have a reason to do that.
No, he
But he
was
did
under
look,
pressure.
it looked like
was
he
under
got,
pressure the whole game,
Auburn
so.
definitely got under his skin.
Yeah.
Who's normally calm, cool, and collected. And, honestly, Cole, we're going to talk about, I added this in, I didn't tell you about it. We're going to talk about Heisman and what we think about the Heisman at the end here. Bryce Young, I think, and C.J. Stroud as well, going into these games, they were kind of neck and neck for the Heisman.
I think
Bryce
so.
Young
Yeah.
had a decent game. He just didn't have a good completion percentage, and he obviously throws that poor interception in
He
the
does,
first
right.
half.
Yeah.
Or is that in the second
It's
half?
second half. Second half. Because
So
it was a very weird.
this
This like
definitely-
trading back like
Yeah.
bad drives and turnovers from Alabama and Auburn.
definitely
so.
could have lost him the Heisman this game.
Definitely.
And
yeah.
and it's not necessarily his fault. I mean, he 25 for 51, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Not a terrible game, like nothing like awful. You still throw for 317.
They need to beat Georgia for him to win the Heisman.
He would have
I
to.
think.
I think he has to have a Heisman moment. Same with, and C.J. Stroud, I think, just lost it with the Michigan because he doesn't have another chance to show out before
That's
the Heisman
true.
voting.
I mean,
Because
that's
if
true.
if Ohio State wins that game, even if Michigan makes him look bad, he still has another chance.
So who actually has an opportunity to even contend with? Because I think Matt Corral has really played himself out of the Heisman the last
we
few
can
weeks.
look
so.
before we go on to the next game. I think I'm kind of done with this game. I think it was a great game.
It was
One
a
of the
great
best all
game.
time.
Oh, yeah, one of
to
the
me,
best
to me,
honorables, yeah.
this in at least in the last, let's say, 15 years, this and the kick six. Probably kick six means a little bit more, especially for Auburn fans, just because that was both teams had a chance to go to the championship that year, and Auburn obviously gets it with that kick six. Or was that? Am I thinking of the wrong year? No, that's right.
That's right year. That's right year.
So that obviously means a little bit more because Auburn in this season didn't have a chance, but man, what a crazy win for Alabama. But let's go right into
It
Heisman
was.
talk because I already brought it up. Bryce Young has a chance still to make himself look good in the SEC championship game. But the reason I wanted to bring up the Heisman talk is I've seen a lot of talk recently from analysts, from stories, whatever else, that this is the year because there has not been an insanely standout offensive performance, whether it be from quarterback, wide receiver, running back, that this is the year that there should be a defensive player that win it. First time since Charles Woodson in, I believe, in 97, 98.
So you're making cases for guys like Jordan Davis and Will Anderson.
Jordan Davis, Will Anderson, Aiden Hutchinson are the three.
From Michigan?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the three mainly because he had that insane, I think a lot of people, because he had that insane performance against Ohio State, kind of raised his name into the Heisman category there. But Will Anderson leading the nation in sacks, solo sacks and total sacks, 14.5 total, 14 solo. And then I believe he has, I think I saw it earlier, 40 tackles for loss? 30.5, sorry. Way above.
What?
30.5 tackles for loss.
For Will Anderson.
This is Will Anderson's stats.
What does that compare to Aiden Hutchinson's stats?
I can look it up. I will tell you, though, that Jordan Davis is in the mind of a lot of people for Heisman, but he doesn't have the stats. So that's one thing Will Anderson has that Jordan Davis doesn't. I think Jordan Davis might be the scarier defensive
And
lineman.
you think there's any way that they would give the Heisman to a guy like Will Anderson over his teammate Bryce Young, who's thrown for almost 4,000 yards, 4
If you
touchdowns,
ask-
4
But
interceptions?
they'll
Well, if
send
you
him to
ask-
New York,
if you-
maybe.
if you
no,
ask-
that's fine. That's a different story. If you want to send a defensive guy to New York, I get that. He's one of the best players. I'm all for that. But as far as like realistically, can any of these three guys actually win the Heisman?
That's what I'm
Can
bringing
they
up.
really be considered one of the best players of college football?
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think if you ask a lot of analysts who the best player in college football is, like if you just say the best player in college football, no Heisman voting, nothing else, they're going to tell you Will Anderson or they're going to tell you Jordan Davis. I think if you ask, just say best player overall, like
Think
they
so?
are the best player. Yeah, I think you say Will Anderson, Jordan Davis. That's what I'm saying. And we all know that the Heisman it's a quarterback award. Now we've seen running backs and wide receiver. We obviously saw Devontae Smith last year. We've seen, I think the only other two are both Alabama, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, in the last like 20 years to not be a quarterback.
Not be a quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think
it's a quarterback award, obviously, and they're going to lean quarterback when in doubt. Bryce Young still had a great season. I'm not taking anything away from him or C.J. Stroud or Matt Corral or anything else. I just think that the best player in college football this year, like overall, are defensive players. Aiden Hutchinson, Will Anderson, Jordan Davis.
What,
The
Tyler,
linebacker.
can you look at what are the actual odds?
I got him
for
right
guys
here.
now?
So Bryce Young is by far the favorite at minus 200 for odds.
Wow.
And then CJ Stroud is second at plus 450.
Wow.
So that is a
wow.
huge-
That's a
but
huge margin of odds.
This is what I
Wow.
don't understand so obviously from 1 to 2 is a big jump, but from 2 to 3, third is Aiden Hutchinson for Michigan. His odds are listed at plus 1,600. So you go from
Wow.
plus 450 to plus 1,600. That's actually nuts.
That's nutty. That's really nutty.
Crazy.
Wow. Has Aiden Hutchinson really had that great of a season? Has it been really good? Like what is his
Let's
marquee?
see.
I guess like Will Anderson has his big time sacks. What is Aiden Hutchinson?
12 and a half sacks. So he's
Oh,
right
wow.
there. He's really
He's
close.
right there. Wow.
He is
Okay.
nowhere close
Wow.
to the tackles for loss. He has 14 tackles for loss. So he's not on the same category as Will Anderson. He just had that
But then
breakout.
again, he plays linebacker, correct? He doesn't play on the line. Is he a defensive end or is he a linebacker?
He's a defensive end.
Is he defensive end? Really?
yeah.
So okay, so see, that's what hurts him is that he plays the same position as Will Anderson, and see, it has the odds that he's above Will Anderson, right?
Yeah,
Tyler?
Will Anderson's odds are plus 5,000.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
How
literally-
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that
I mean,
what
Will,
date
Will,
is that? Is that still
This is 12/11.
okay?
Will
what?
Anderson really has
Wait,
the better
hold
numbers of the two, and yet they've got.
I think he's
Odds
on the wrong
to
date.
win 12/11/21. Why does it say that? Oh, I guess it's saying that's when the presentation is. So
Oh,
these
okay.
are odds are updated from November 30th.
Yeah, so it didn't count it hasn't counted. All right. Yeah, it did.
would've.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
it would.
That's that's
Crazy.
tricky. That's tricky.
That's what. Well, that,
yeah.
that's why I wanted to bring it up. Is I think the best overall player, whether you can say throw out a name, you can also say what's Georgia's linebacker's name. I'm blanking on his name.
Georgia's linebacker,
Nakobe Dean?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Nakobe
He's
Dean,
also
yeah.
been thrown in there. I've seen his name in there.
Okay,
a
so
lot,
here we go. Here we go. Before we end, top 5 players. If you had to say top 5 players right off the top of your head for college football this year, top 5 in no particular order.
No particular
just
order.
5 best players you've seen.
Wow.
Best players I've seen.
Best players all season long that you've seen.
I mean Jordan Davis, just because
So Jordan
he's not
Davis,
going to have
you
the
got him in
stats, but yeah, I would say Will Anderson.
Will Anderson.
He's definitely been up there. I don't know, man. That's hard. What's Kenneth Walker? Is that his name?
Kenneth Walker, running back. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
I go back and forth. Maybe Chris Olave for Ohio
Yeah.
State.
Chris
He's been
Olave.
really
Okay,
good.
yeah. I was gonna
He's
say
been
one of
really
those 2
good.
receivers from Ohio State.
So is that 3?
That's 4.
4.
Name 4. Are you not gonna go quarterback here? Not
I
put
mean,
a
yeah,
quarterback in there?
I'm gonna go quarterback, but I would probably say Bryce Young. He's got a little bit better stats
Okay.
than C.J. Stroud, but I
I
think
was
C.J.
gonna
Stroud
say,
has had the bigger
You can't
games.
keep a quarterback out of this argument, I don't think. So
yeah.
I think you have to put the best quarterback you've seen in college football. And I would
Probably Bryce Young, especially with the offensive line play, what he's been able to
what
do.
he's had to do with that offensive
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
I
agree.
think I don't think that everybody's really thinking about how hard it has to be for a guy like Bryce Young. This is his first year starting full time for Alabama, and he's had probably, would you guys say, probably the worst offensive line in Saban's tenure?
I mean, 2007. You got it. People forget
Well,
about
okay,
2007.
that's first year though. Come on, Steve.
2010,
That's not
2010
fair.
they didn't have a great
2010,
offensive line.
that was pretty bad, but still.
No, this offense.
I think then this one might be the worst.
I don't
though.
understand. Now, I was talking about with Tyler. They had arguably the best offensive line class they've ever had come in this year. So
I
they're
think it was
freshmen this year.
actually top on rivals ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Best.
So they had,
best
but let's just say
recruiting
they're two offensive tackles. They had the top two.
Performance-wise, though, just not.
Well, they had the top two offensive tackles last year, or the recruits. So they're freshmen this year. J.C. Latham and Brockermeyer. Was it Tommy or
class. Tommy and
I don't remember the other one. I think
GJ.
Tommy's the offensive tackle though.
Yeah.
Why is Alabama not playing them? What are they doing?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
I
when you
agree.
have 5 stars.
They can't see the
understand.
field. Can't see the field. I don't know.
Why
I don't.
is
I don't.
that, though?
I'm
Like-
wondering if they're just that. Have they just shown that they're just not good?
Maybe saving them for like a rabbit out of the hat. Like
I don't
pull 'em
know.
out
But
against
then,
Georgia or
they were
whatever.
replaced. I would say that too. But then they replaced our center and our guard, or our right tackle. Excuse me.
Who's this McCullough guy that they brought in? I've never even heard of him. Is he a walk-on?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, like, seriously, I've never heard of this guy. I know, like, almost everybody on Alabama roster. I've never heard of that McCullough guy.
I don't know.
I
That's
gotta
what
say,
I.
I've
When I
never-
saw
I'm
him, I
very-
was like, who
very
the
confu-
heck is that?
But so 3. Let's add the other Brockermeyer twin, the center. It's 3 top offensive lineman recruits that are freshmen this year. They're just not playing, not touching the field. Even when you have to replace your center and your, I believe it was right tackle.
Yes.
Replace them.
Yes.
Replace
Yeah.
them. You still, they're not even second string, Cole? That's mind blowing. That's mind blowing.
the fact that J.C. Latham on Rivals.
crazy.
You raise a good point. You raise a
Crazy.
good point. No,
Crazy.
there's a lot of talent on that roster for them not to be seeing the field in a year where, like you said, they are struggling. It's not
Yeah.
like they're not playing and like they're doing really good.
Now I get it. Evan Neal going to be a first round pick. You don't replace him, right? Get that. He's playing left tackle.
Yeah.
I think both of their positions are
I
left
mean,
tackle.
Dalcourt's been kind of
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Both their positions are left tackle coming in. But I mean,
Yeah.
come on, if you're replacing the right tackle, you can put one of them at right tackle. It's the same position, just backwards.
I think you could beat this horse.
I can.
a
Last
while,
question for
Steven.
Iron Bowl, and then we can move on. Are things different with Bo Nix?
No,
Oh, I think
Nah.
they are.
I don't think so.
I think they are.
I don't think so.
TJ Finley was bad.
He was bad, but Steven, let me say this. Let me say this.
Bad.
Look at the running game that Auburn had. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so Tank Bigsby gets 29 carries. You only get 22 yards,
63
right?
yards. Well, he got 63 yards.
Right. Okay.
But after sacks, it's 22.
So you're telling me that Bo is forced to drop back and throw as many times as TJ had to?
You're going to tell me that he's not a better passer than TJ Finley? Did you see TJ
I don't
Finley?
know, Steven.
Did you
Did
see
you
his
watch the
throws?
last? Did you watch the last few games that Bo had to where he had to throw against
Well,
Texas A&M where he had to throw?
He got
against,
hurt in was it South Carolina? He got hurt or Texas A&M?
No, he got
South-
hurt before South Carolina.
Yeah,
he got hurt against Mississippi State. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I
they
don't,
scored
I
more
don't
points.
know.
Though. They scored more points against Texas A&M. They only scored 10 points before overtimes. They only scored 10 points.
I'm
But you
just-
can say the same thing about
I get
Alabama,
that.
but
I
still.
get that. I'm just saying that we've seen when Bo had to throw this year.
TJ
when
Finley
they
also
had no other option.
He didn't run. He's not a runner.
He's not a runner, and he was hurt. You're right.
Bo Nix
and his left
well, he
ankle was
didn't
hurt.
get hurt until
the
second
half.
Second half.
Second half, right?
Bo Nix is a runner. A healthy Bo Nix. That's what I'm saying. A healthy. Now this obviously not. Like injuries happen. I'm not saying that, whatever. A healthy Bo Nix, he scores more than 10 points against that Alabama defense.
I'm just saying this, and
Scores more
Tyler,
touchdowns.
you can back me up on this if you want to, because I think Steven's going to choose the latter here. Alabama's defense was just on Saturday.
Yeah, they
they
played
had
playing
everything that Auburn. Anything Auburn tried to dial up, they had.
Oh, they played outstanding.
Auburn had to go back to the Lutsen-Kirkin throwback play in overtime in
And
order
it
to
worked.
even get a touchdown, and it worked.
worked.
They had to go back to that play in order for them to even score. So I think Ryan Harsin and his staff knew that this game was going to be very hard for them to win, and Alabama's offense played bad enough where that gave Auburn a chance to compete in the game. Because let me just say this: if Alabama musters up any kind of offense in that game's not close.
Yeah.
Because Auburn's offense was going nowhere.
Yeah, but Auburn's defense. You can say the same thing
Nowhere.
about Auburn's defense being on.
Well, they weren't. This is what I was going to say. Derek Mason and Pete Golding may have called two of their best games all year as far as defense goes.
Played great.
Two of
Don't
their
give
best
credit to
games.
Pete Golden.
So.
Don't.
Look, Tyler. I always say this: we want to bash Pete Golding in the defense on Wednesdays every time they do bad. You got to give them praise for when they do good.
Well, let's
Got
talk
to.
about another great defensive performance.
Wow.
Move on. Michigan They finally get over the Ohio State.
I love how we act like Michigan's never beat Ohio State.
But it's
when we
been
say this.
10 years.
No,
Cole.
it's been a while, but I just love how everybody acts like they've never beat. They finally beat them.
I mean, yeah, but what would Alabama or Auburn fans be saying if they have
I
10
know.
years in a row?
Well, I mean, what was it? 6 years? Auburn beat Alabama in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean,
That's what. But you remember that? I remember that.
yeah,
it's
no,
crazy.
It
It didn't
yeah.
at 6 years. It didn't ever feel like Alabama was going to beat Auburn.
It didn't. Yeah,
It
you're
didn't
right.
ever feel like it.
And Michigan fans
Imagine-
didn't. They
that's what I'm saying.
never thought that they were going to beat Ohio State, especially with Jim Harbaugh. But your Champagne, he got the monkey off his back. He
Finally.
silenced the critics. And let me just say this, guys. That was no fluke. Michigan
No.
physically beat Ohio State up and down that football field all game long. It was just not a contest. I know Ohio State got some touchdowns here and touchdowns there, and they made it a competitive game, but Michigan just owned the line of scrimmage, 297 yards rushing. I mean, Michigan only had to complete 13 passes all game.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's crazy.
I don't know if you saw John Madden texted Jim Harbaugh after the game and said that was the greatest offensive line performance I've ever seen.
John Madden?
John Madden.
It had to have been. Guys,
That's how good do you feel if John Madden texts you and is like, "Hey, your offensive line."
Michigan's offensive
Best I've
line
ever
is
seen.
nasty, and this just begs the question. Well, first of all, I called this. I just want to say this a few weeks ago. I said Michigan was going to beat Ohio State and they're going to the Big Ten title. I just want to toot my own horn there for a little bit.
Well, I was gonna say
But
he picked.
he
We did
picked
the show
Michigan
2 weeks
State.
ago. Picked Michigan State. You picked Michigan. I picked Ohio State. So there you go. You're the last one standing.
But I will say this though. Wow. I mean, how did they lose to Michigan State?
I don't know.
The way they
Well,
looked against Ohio State.
they looked-
How does that team blow that fourth quarter?
I
That
was gonna say, but
16-point
if you,
lead.
I was gonna say, if you watch that game,
And
Michigan was
blow it.
winning that whole game.
They were in control the whole way.
Whole game. Kenneth Walker just
And
had
then
a
they
few
just
breakout
blew
runs,
it.
and that was it.
They
That
just
was it.
blow it. Otherwise, the Wolverines are on the same conversation as Georgia. If they win that game and they beat Ohio State,
Well,
they're
I won't-
They're on the same level as what we're talking about with Georgia.
I would say that
the amount of hype behind them. We're not giving
I don't
Michigan
know.
credit enough, I don't think, because of what they did against Michigan, or they didn't do against Michigan State.
Okay, I will say
Their wins, Stephen, if they had Michigan State and Ohio State, are better than anything Georgia's done all year.
yes, that's what I was about to say. I will say that Michigan has played obviously a harder schedule than Georgia.
Way harder.
Harder,
Yes.
definitely harder schedule. Georgia, nobody's been close to Georgia.
No.
Nobody's been close.
Again, I get what you're saying. No. Historically,
crazy.
Georgia's defense and team has
crazy.
been crazy. But the way that Michigan has beat some of these teams, and then, I mean, I don't know. It's just they look like a different Michigan team, and it may be just one of these years for them. And you know, they always have one game, and a lot of teams have had games this year that they've had letdown games. That's what
Yeah.
we're kind of waiting for Georgia to have, that letdown game.
Definitely.
Maybe they don't have it. We don't know.
Maybe
but,
they do.
But the Wolverines finally get
Maybe
it
they
over
do.
with, and Jim Harbaugh moves on. And with pedestrian quarterback play from McNamara, he was
He wasn't good. I mean, he wasn't like terrible, but I mean,
No,
when you have Hassan Haskins running for 5 touchdowns,
I mean, you really don't need him, right?
I say, why do you need to pass the ball?
So Michigan obviously is a win away from the play. I never thought we'd say this. Not only did Jim Harbaugh beat Ohio State this year, he's a chance to get the playoff. I mean, this guy can really silence some critics.
Definitely. And
We
speaking
can't
to
talk
your-
about Jim Harbaugh for years now. I mean, like, he beat
Well,
Ohio
that's what-
State and he might go to the playoffs.
Well, I was gonna say that's what we talked about. His seat got a whole lot cooler because he finally got over that win. But I also want to say, Cole, since the pendulum has swung so much to offensive play, defense really doesn't matter that much over the last, I don't know, let's say 3 to 5 years. Michigan and Georgia are kind of proving that, hey, if you have a really good defense and you can play some bully ball, you're still going to win a lot of college football games.
I think we went through so many years where the offense led the league that we were due for you know how it felt like in baseball where it seemed like they were scoring runs like crazy, and then we
Yeah.
had the pitchers that just came out of nowhere.
The pendulum
It
swings
feels
back.
like everything evens out eventually, and now it feels like teams have adapted to the offenses, they've adapted to the rules, and now defensive-minded coaches are figuring out how to play the game of football again. Because we
Yeah.
went through a lot of rule changes, we went through a lot of RPO changes, whatnot. So a lot of defensive teams had to adjust to it,
Right.
and now they are.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing these Georgias and Michigans and whatnot. They're taking back over the sport for this year.
And
so hey,
dominating it.
kudos to them. And like you said, you made a case for it. 3 of the best players in football,
Defensive
probably
players.
on the defensive side.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where college football is leaning. And hey, the NFL kind of that way too. You know,
Yeah, definitely,
One of
definitely.
the best defenses
I
in
was gonna
football,
say, the
the Green
pendulum-
Bay Packers.
Pendulum swinging backwards. Like you said, it water finds its level. So let's go over some Ohio State streak snap because I thought these were pretty cool The streaks snapped by Michigan.
Man, college football fans love when Ohio State just gets
it's the same
like
thing
that.
with Alabama, same thing with Clemson, same thing with
when the winners have been winning so much. When they finally start getting beat,
you get tired of it.
They just love it. The fans love it.
You get tired of it. So this is the streaks snapped. So this is Ohio State streaks that were snapped. They had 29.
Say that 5 times fast.
I know. They had 29 straight wins versus Big Ten teams. 29 straight wins versus Big Ten teams.
Wow.
That streak was snapped.
Now that's impressive.
26. This is very similar streak. I don't know why this is on there twice. 26 straight wins in conference play. What?
Well, because you added teams obviously the last few years, so I mean they're different teams.
Ryan Day's perfect record versus Big Ten opponents, 25-0.
Are you serious? This is
It's
first
25-0.
loss in the Big Ten?
First loss. 21.
Wow. What?
21.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
21 straight wins versus AP ranked Big Ten teams. This is a lot of Big Ten stats. And it was 8 years. I was wrong. It wasn't a decade. 8 years. 8-game winning streak versus
That's
Michigan.
nutty. I mean that's how good Ohio State has been these last few seasons.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
That's why.
That's impressive.
That's why. I
It's
was
so
kinda
big.
like, yeah.
That's why it's so big. Did y'all see the scene and just like the pageantry of that game with
I
the,
wanted
in the
to
big
say this.
house? Like
the snow
and
made it
everything.
so much better.
It just made it like a legendary game. I'm sure. Hey, shout out to Art Franklin. I'm sure he was really popping some champagne on Saturday night.
Shout out
I'm
Art
sure he
Franklin.
was.
Does he still have a mustache?
I think so.
Yeah.
He's gotta have it.
No, he shaved it.
Oh, he did shave it. Yeah, he
shaved.
does.
Is it still shaved, though?
He's got the shave.
Yeah. I feel
like he's grown it back.
I saw it the other day.
I feel like he's grown it
yeah.
back.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So shout out to Art and the Michigan fan base and Chris Brees. They're both Michigan men. So they finally got that win over Ohio State. But then, hey, not even the craziest game of the day.
No.
The absolute craziest game of the day came at the hands of the Bedlam rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, which, by the way, question here. How invested do you guys think that Lincoln Riley was if they win that game? How invested do you think he is as far as
he's already gone.
You think he's gone?
Oh, for
Even
sure.
if Oklahoma's in the Big 12 championship?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think
Could you
had
imagine
anything to
that?
do
Wait,
with-
what?
Imagine if Oklahoma had beat Oklahoma State on Saturday.
Oh, I think we just talked about it. I mean, he already bought a house in L.A.
But you don't think he waits another week till he announces that?
Maybe.
And coaches the game?
Maybe. I
I
Notre
don't
Dame-
know, man.
Let's,
I don't
let's
know.
Put it, let's
That's-
put it,
Okay.
let's put it this
he
way.
might wait another week, but I mean, he's gone.
I mean, no, he's gone.
matter
I'm just
what,
saying, like, you
after
don't.
the
I
season.
mean, you don't
He
think he'd want to
hadn't
not
made up
have
his
that
mind.
distraction. I mean, the
Yeah,
fact
but-
that you could
okay.
be going to the playoff.
Let's
I
put it
mean,
this way. Notre Dame.
Notre
There's
Dame.
still a path
They
to the
still
playoff for
have a
Notre
chance.
Dame.
Kelly already
Can
left.
you imagine if they were? I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but could you imagine if Notre Dame did get in the playoff and like won a game
I was
or
gonna say,
two and
well,
like
imagine
shook
if,
everything
imagine
up?
if Notre Dame went, because the whole reason Brian Kelly left, you can say, is that he saw the path Notre Dame's been taking. He says, okay, I've taken them to their absolute peak. They just can't. I can't win a national championship here. I just can't. So I'm going to go to LSU, where the last two coaches have won national championships, right? Who, if you can say Kelly is by far and away the best
better
of
than
those.
Edo and better than Les Miles.
You
Come
can
on
say
now.
that easily,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
So wouldn't it be hilarious if Notre Dame, as soon as he leaves, gets a path to the playoff, and then it's not going to happen. I don't think
No,
Notre
I
Dame
don't
is
think
good
so.
enough.
I don't think so
but
either,
Notre
no.
Dame wins the national championship.
No,
after,
it would be hilarious.
Hilarious,
It's just absolutely chaos
hilarious.
happens.
After he
So.
had a 4-minute meeting to tell, or it was 11 minutes, but he talked for 4 minutes saying bye.
No,
At
that's
7 a.m.
crazy. but this game, I'm telling you, wow. I mean, you have a kickoff return for touchdown, 2 muff punts,
I was gonna
one
say,
taken in
2
for a
muff
score,
punts.
a safety, a pass interference call that wasn't. Which, by the way, was it pass interference? Do you think it was? Did you see
Which
the play?
Which play?
The final play where Caleb Williams throws the ball for a touchdown, and the Oklahoma State defender was kind of shielding the receiver
I don't
off.
think it was pass interference.
You don't think
I know
so?
what you're talking about. I don't think so, but I mean, yeah,
I think you could have gave a flag for it.
As
think
I
you
was
could have
say,
called
you
it.
can say that
I
for
think you
like
could've.
if it's hand fighting though, Cole. You can say pass interference these days.
I don't know. It was pretty bad. I mean, that defender had full control of that situation, and that receiver did not. I don't think he had much of a chance to come back and fight for that ball. But hey, I think Oklahoma State was probably the better football team.
Yep.
But
Yep.
Oklahoma had a 33-24 lead heading into the fourth quarter.
I know.
And somehow lost that
I know.
game.
Muff punt, man.
It's still
They,
though.
were both of them in the fourth quarter, or just the last one?
No,
I think it was just the last one.
I think the last one was. I think one was in the third quarter. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that's what. I think one of them was Oklahoma State muffed it, right?
Yeah,
And gave
yeah,
Oklahoma
that was
the
first
point.
one.
Yeah,
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that second one, obviously, huge muff punt by Oklahoma.
But Spencer Sanders played a good game. I mean,
Speaking
after throwing
of-
those 2 early interceptions, played good.
Speaking of pendulum swings, Oklahoma State, a defensive team?
Oh,
What
I
in the
know.
world?
It's crazy. But I mean, hey, Oklahoma scores over 30 points.
I mean, they
shows
did.
that there
They
is
looked.
some-
I was gonna say they didn't look like a great defensive
No,
team,
they-
but I'm just saying like this is Oklahoma State is typically we're gonna play offense and absolutely no defense, especially under Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
What in the world? Mike Gundy has decided that we're going to play defense and just run the ball?
Okay, so Jeff told me this. He said
Shout out
that-
Jeff Spredlin,
Yeah, Jeff
Jeff
Spradlin.
Spradlin.
NFL insider.
He told me that Cole Kubelik said that, like, Cole Kubelik and Greg McElroy gave their top 4, teams right now. And Cole Kubelik put Oklahoma State at number 2.
Number 2?
Jinx.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, right?
Dude, I don't know about that.
What
now. Wow,
is- I know. When Jeff told me that, I literally laughed.
okay, wow.
You're-
I mean,
Who have they beat? I mean, they beat.
they
Beat Oregon? Did they play Oregon?
No, they didn't beat Oregon. No, I think Oklahoma's
they
their best
beat?
win. Oklahoma and Baylor, because they've beaten Baylor already once. Now they had to play them again. So their best wins
They
are
play
Oklahoma,
Utah?
Baylor, and
Hold up, I got
no,
you.
they did not play Utah. It's a Big 12 school.
I know, but I feel like they played.
You feel like you saw them play?
I feel like I saw them play a Pac-12.
No, they did. I think they played. Did they play Colorado or something
So,
like that?
obviously, Texas, Baylor, when they beat them at the time,
That's why my ESPN doesn't work. Tyler's taking on the internet.
probably. They beat
Well, he has
Iowa.
the biggest computer in here. So
They lost to Iowa State.
Look at this; it's just stuck.
They did lose to Iowa State.
Yeah, that was their one loss. They haven't lost.
That's a bad loss.
That's a bad loss.
And you
What is Iowa State? Are they 6-6?
Iowa
It'll
State,
say it on the score.
It doesn't.
Oh.
I don't know.
Oh,
This is
I
great.
don't know. Yeah,
This is great podcasting.
Yeah, this is great.
It's great podcasting.
research.
They
But
know
no,
what we're talking about.
Going
They're
on.
not in the top 25, though.
Well, I know that, but I think they're 6-6.
I think
Maybe
that
7
Oklahoma
and
State
5.
is definitely one of the top 5, top 6, maybe borderline top 4 teams.
What
Depending
are
on,
they?
and
They're
we'll
6
see
right now,
how-
right?
They
No,
are 5.
fifth. They're
I
fifth.
think,
They're
right?
fifth.
Yeah, they're fifth.
Because
So-
Notre Dame's 6th.
Yes, and then you have Baylor sitting at number 9. I think 8. Really? Okay. So a win over Baylor can put you in the playoff for sure. I think that you played this scenario out a few weeks ago. You said if Oklahoma State was to win,
Right.
Cincinnati, even
that's
if
what I'm
you win
saying.
against Houston,
That's what I'm saying.
Still could
It's
find
scary.
them. Yeah,
It's scary.
still
I
could
was
find
saying
them.
7 and 5, by the way.
7 and 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So because if Alabama beats Georgia, which I don't think is likely, but let's say Alabama beats Georgia, they're both in.
Wow! A sneak preview for who Steven's picking here. So
Alabama beats Georgia, they're both in. Then that leaves, I guess, Cincinnati or Michigan is in with a win at
over
Iowa.
Iowa. Yeah.
And then Cincinnati can still beat Houston, but if Oklahoma State beats Baylor, that's a way better win than
a win over Houston.
It does
right?
help Cincinnati's case that
Hey,
Houston's
no-
ranked. Helps them a ton.
It helps Cincinnati. It also helps Cincinnati that Notre Dame is still ranked at 6.
It does. It does.
And that's one of the better wins
But then,
as it stands.
again,
right
you can
now.
talk about too. I think this kind of hurts Oklahoma State because they've already beaten Baylor.
Yes,
so it's not
yes, it
like
does.
Baylor's
You can't
highly
get
ranked.
impressed by it again.
You
Yeah.
can't really you're like okay, they're a better team than Baylor, but does that necessarily make them one of the top 4? You know what I'm saying?
I
They're
don't
just better
think so.
than Baylor.
You're really going off of your totality of your season at
Yeah.
that point. You're really not going off
but
a knee-jerk reaction.
I
of the
would not
game.
be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me at this point if they.
So
kick
which one do
Cincinnati
you
out.
think that Cincinnati needs more? Do you think they need more of Georgia to beat Alabama, or do you think they need more Oklahoma State to lose to Baylor? Which one do you think helps them
I mean,
more?
it helps them more. I mean, I think they're in no matter what if Alabama loses, and I think that's the more likely scenario.
Okay,
As Alabama
you
loses.
think that they just need Georgia to go ahead and take care of?
Yeah, I think
Alabama,
that's.
and
I
that'd
mean,
be it.
I think since Oklahoma State already beat Baylor, I think they're just a better team than Baylor overall right now. They're
So
hot.
that's not going to do much for them regardless.
I mean, obviously, it would give
If you
them
lose,
security.
obviously, then
it would give the
Cincinnati's in.
security, but I
Right.
think no matter what, if Alabama loses, which is the more likely, if either one loses, I think, and as long
Cincinnati's
as Cincinnati takes care of business,
As long as both of them don't win.
I think
That's doomsday scenario
That's
for your-
doomsday.
if you're Cincinnati.
They're just rooting for one, and I think Cincinnati. That's what I said. I just don't. I don't have any hope
Wow,
for the.
that will be crusher if that does happen.
That
And
will.
you know what? There's a chance that could happen.
So let's move on to some other games that kind of didn't make this big game list here. They didn't have playoff. Let's say didn't have playoff implications,
but still were newsworthy.
still newsworthy. LSU wins in a game winner. What the play right before that? Right before what?
It was so bizarre watching that game, how it unfolded. And can we just talk about this for a second? Texas A&M. Why can they just not ever just take care of the games? Like, I mean,
I don't know. Well, so cool.
They find some way to just disappoint us every year with that. I mean, Jimbo and his teams, they just find a way.
So Cole, for those who didn't see, can you walk us through that play? So not the final play that LSU made, the game winner touchdown. What was the play?
The punt play?
Yeah.
Oh, now see, I think a lot of A&M fans are going to be upset about that.
That's what I'm
because-
saying. Walk the people who didn't see it through it.
So A&M obviously punts to LSU, which again, you can talk about whether or not they could have waited out the clock more, how Jimbo managed the clock went out. So he punts it away to LSU with seemingly seconds left in the game, and the LSU guy he fumbled the ball. And the guy, of course, the officials, they're so quick to call guys down apparently nowadays with forward progress. The A&M players actually had surrounded him and had stripped the ball out of his hands.
There's no way. No way.
But the play was blown dead.
There's no way.
No, he was still fighting for
his
yards.
forward progress was stopped.
No, he was still fighting for yards.
They called that play
100%.
dead.
Way too soon.
That's the fastest I've ever seen a play called dead.
Yes. No. There's no 100%.
So
if they called the game correctly, A&M has the ball.
I was gonna say credit to LSU for winning on that drive and everything like that because they're still down. Like it's not the end of the game, but
no, A&M definitely got screwed on the official one.
My gosh, what a terrible play! That's on par with the Mississippi State punt.
Well, it's also on par with what happened to Auburn in the South Carolina game because how can you really determine that hit that guy's foot on that punt? Yeah. Come on, I mean let's all be real here. Come on. I mean, like, there's not enough indisputable evidence, but you had the evidence in that A&M LSU game. That guy clearly has the ball, and he's still standing up. He's not even down. You don't even have to do like the whole ruling on the field, like if he's down or not.
That's what I'm saying.
He is standing up.
I understand they blew the play,
blew it way too soon though.
Can you not? I guess you can. I guess it's part of the rules that when they blow the play dead,
they immediately touched him and they were blowing the play dead.
That's what I'm saying. It's insane that they called that play dead.
But LSU wins the game. Max Johnson throws a big touchdown throw. I mean, wow. So Coach O goes out a winner. He will not coach the bowl game. He does say the trademark.
There you go.
Go Tigers.
Let's just quickly talk about these last two games. Ole Miss wins the Egg Bowl. A lot of talk going on there.
Hey, big for the program. First 10-win season ever. So, I mean, that's big for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
Lane Kiffin, great season.
That's huge.
A lot of people looking at his offense coordinator to move, maybe to a bigger school at offense coordinator, maybe head coach somewhere.
Maybe.
Could be. Lane Kiffin's talked about Oklahoma, talked about Miami. I know Miami's not getting rid of their coach necessarily.
It'd be a good fit.
But there you go. And then Minnesota takes Wisconsin out of the Big Ten championship.
What is up with Wisconsin? Why can they not? We were just complimenting them.
They never have a quarterback. They never have a good quarterback there.
They just go and just lay a dud.
Trace McSorley was pretty good.
Yes, he was. He was okay.
McSorley went to Penn State.
Oh, yeah, we did go to Mississippi. Yeah,
I don't know. I was
Russell Wilson.
I was thinking about Penn State. I was thinking about Penn State when we were talking about it because I was thinking about teams that had like.
I'm so bad that I even like agree with him for saying.
Trace McSorley. Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah,
no, they've always had good running backs. That's
Wisconsin's
good running back, good offensive line,
and fullback and running back and good offensive line.
Yeah, Paul Chryst and his offensive staff have really got to look at this offseason and find a way to get better because that has been a very trifling and troubling, side of the ball for them. They just have not been.
I mean, he's a good
great coach, but you've got to find a way to score points.
Yeah.
You can't have a great defense like Wisconsin had. They've had a historically good defense the last 7 to 8 years. They've been top 4, top 3 every year, right behind Alabama and Georgia.
What was their coach before him, Paul Chryst? He's the AD now.
It's Brett Bielema.
Nope.
Oh, well,
he was the coach.
Brett Bielema was the head coach before.
No, Barry Odom.
Not Barry Alvarez, right?
Barry Alvarez.
Barry Alvarez.
It was Alvarez.
They've all had really good defenses.
I think it was Alvarez, then Bielema, and then Chryst, right?
And they've all been able to run the football and play really good defense, but they have not been able to have that quarterback position. Tyler's right. They have not really had. Yeah, he's a transfer though.
Yeah,
he wasn't even like a legit Wisconsin quarterback. Mm-mm. So you have not been able to recruit a legit quarterback for the University of Wisconsin. And
Graham Mertz was supposed to be good.
Who was the last great Wisconsin quarterback?
Russell Wilson.
Okay, that played there for multiple years. I would be interested to see if Tyler can look it up. I'd be interested to see what it is.
Tyler's sucking all my internet out, so I can't look anything up.
But speaking of head coaches,
let's move on to the
endless coaching carousel.
And we already talked about LSU getting Brian Kelly a little bit. It's a huge get for LSU because you can argue he's a top 5 coach.
Oh, absolutely,
top 5 coach.
Yeah,
the AD that's at LSU, he's also
Scott
one that got,
Woodward. Yeah,
he got Jimbo Fisher to Texas A&M. Who else did he get? He got somebody else too. He's a big game hunter, is what I was going for. He's a big game hunter.
LSU, and there's no doubt in my mind when you say that Coach O is gone midway through the season, you obviously knew that they had already talked and were trying to get a big name guy.
Oh yeah,
you knew they weren't just going to.
They were going after Jimbo like
exactly,
crazy.
Right.
I mean, Jimbo had to deny it so many times.
Right.
And finally,
there's no doubt they were also in Lincoln Riley sweepstakes. They were talking him as well.
Definitely.
So I mean, but you couldn't have landed a guy that right off the top from Lincoln Riley and him. I mean, Brian Kelly's not far down the list.
Brian Kelly's great hire.
That is a
huge hire. I
It's
will say
it's just a weird fit to me.
it
is a weird fit. The culture change from Notre Dame to LSU is just night and day.
It's crazy.
That is just
Crazy.
not. I mean,
Yeah, can't wait for Brian Kelly to hear neck for the first time.
Oh my goodness! I mean, like this is just going to be
that tiger.
so. Yeah. It's just going to be so different. But Brian Kelly, one thing that he does, he wins ball games.
He does.
He does.
Wins.
He's
and
a winner. He's a good.
Marcus Spears said this on Get Up this morning. He said, "You want a culture change? Just start winning games.
Yeah.
because
There you
that
go.
will change the culture completely.
Well,
And
no
I
matter
talk
what.
about it being such a weird culture change, but then you think about Les Miles came down from Michigan. He was a northern guy, came down, coached LSU.
But that's but like Steven said, Brian Kelly's there thinking Les Miles and Ed O can win.
They can
a
win
national
championships.
championship.
Ed O though, I
you
feel like
kidding me?
he was the perfect culture fit, but he just could. He's not. I don't
He's
think
not
he's
a
a
good
great
coach.
I don't think he's a
He's
great.
a good culture
I don't
fit,
think he's a
yes.
great X's and O's coach.
No.
I think he's
Game
a great
day coach, no.
great motivator and great recruiter.
You want
I
him
think
on your
those
staff,
two are
just not in
great.
charge.
Yeah. He's just. I don't think he's a good. He's not an X's and
Yes.
O's guy.
Yes.
He's just not. But Brian Kelly, you got to think for him. He's going into Louisiana, which is a hotbed for recruits. It's Louisiana, Florida, and California. You can say, and Texas is what you can say
Georgia.
are the. Georgia's, I would say, fifth on that, but whatever. We don't have to go into every state. But he's getting kids to Notre Dame, which
Yeah,
is not like
That's true. Now you actually have a recruiting element that could come to LSU.
Yeah, you actually-
don't have the academic, standard that you have to, try and
you can
meet.
and you can hear all the defensive linemen and the other big players that have gone to LSU talking about they grew up. When you grow up in Louisiana, you dream
You're
of
going
playing
to
for
LSU.
LSU. Well,
Yeah.
you dream of playing. That's like your dream,
Right.
And so if you can, it's very.
How many guys
easy.
in there thinking, man, I can't wait to go play in South Bend, Indiana?
That's what I'm
I
saying.
can't wait.
South Bend, Indiana, at Notre Dame, where we just talked about, where you have to have a little bit a better academic success. It's got that Catholic stuff with it,
Yeah.
and everything like that.
Yeah, you're right.
LSU, and Kelly's obviously a good recruiter. I mean, he's had great recruiting classes the last he's been there for 10 years. They've been a top 10 program,
And I'll
the
say
last
this,
10 years.
But let's all be honest for a second. The money looks good too.
Oh yeah, 10
money
10
looks
years.
good.
10 years,
the money
95 million.
talks.
10
The
years,
money
95 million.
talks.
So let's move. USC. We talked about Lincoln Riley. A big get for them, obviously.
That's a
another
slam
big
dunk
game.
hire.
Slam dunk.
I mean, slam dunk.
Amazing hire for USC. I think
that's a just match made in heaven.
I think
Just
immediately
great.
because he brings a lot of
Yeah.
assistants with him. He obviously is going to bring recruits with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think USC is going to immediately jump to the top 2 with Oregon in the Pac-12. Say that him and Mario Cristobal are going to be battling it out for that, or Pac-12. Sorry.
Well,
it's
then you
Pac-12.
look at, of course, Tyler Champagne, Billy Napier.
Billy Napier. I honestly, I agree with Tyler. I think it's a great hire. It's not as splashy as
It's
Lincoln
not
Riley.
sexy
It's
as-
not
as
sexy.
Kelly or
Billy
Lincoln,
Napier,
no.
like he said,
No.
he's just won though. I mean, he's just been winning,
Yeah.
and he's getting recruits still.
I think
to
I, I
Louisiana.
He's
think,
always been
I
a
think the
great
big
recruiter.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think the big question mark everybody's going to have is, can you win at a bigger job like Florida versus Louisiana?
Definitely.
It's obviously a different stage and a different type of level of play. So that's going to be his biggest step, because Lincoln and Kelly have already proven they can win at the high level.
Yeah.
Billy Napier's going to have some time where he's going to
Definitely.
prove.
It happens
and he's
every-
got his work. Florida is not in the state that USC and LSU's in.
Well,
They
USC
are
is
in-
not. USC is
No,
not.
but I mean, come on.
Like I said, Lincoln Riley he's
LA
bringing recruits.
LA being right there in your backyard, that gives you a lot.
Florida.
Well,
And you're not. I mean, Miami's not good right now. FSU's not good right now.
That's true.
This is prime
That's
taking.
topic for another day. But yes, you're
but
right.
this is prime
I
taking
agree.
for the
I
state.
agree.
So let's last two, just because they're openings now. Oklahoma and Notre Dame, obviously, they lose their coaches, so
It
huge.
looks like Notre Dame's going to be hiring Marcus Freeman.
Yeah,
as
their
the head
defensive
coach, though.
coordinator.
I've seen that report all over Twitter. It looks
Yeah.
like that is almost
and
a
Notre,
done deal.
Notre Dame's going to be at a little bit different state than Oklahoma. I talked
Yeah.
about it in my whiskey. Oklahoma loses assistants, they lose recruits, they lose their top coach, obviously.
Yes. Mhm.
Whereas Notre Dame, it looks like they're keeping majority of their recruits. They're keeping their offensive coordinator, keeping their defense coordinator, obviously, because he's the leading candidate to be their head coach. So I think they're going to be okay. They're not going to. I don't think there's going to be a ton of a drop off as
Okay.
compared to the Oklahoma drop off.
Yeah.
As big of a drop off.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
I get
going to
what
be a
you're saying.
drop, but not
Yeah.
as big. What So who do you go to?
That's what I was going to
Oklahoma?
ask you.
Yeah.
Gut feeling right now, who would you say if you had to just bet your money on it right now? Who is going to be the guy that's going to be calling
Who
plays
is going to
for
be
Sooners
the?
next year?
I mean, people have said Lane Kiffin. People have said Luke Fickell's going to be in everybody's.
I think
everybody's
he is.
name.
I think he is a very high name.
I don't. But the problem with Luke Fickell is I would have picked him more for the Notre Dame job than the Oklahoma job. Because Notre
I
Dame's
agree.
in his area. I mean, that's not far. South Bend is not far from Ohio. So I mean, and I feel like Luke Fickell's just he's that area guy. You know what I'm saying? Which we could say the same with Brian Kelly before he went to Louisiana. So I mean, anything's possible.
Follow the same kind of pattern there,
Yeah,
right?
money
You know?
money talks.
Sorry,
I'm dying.
So you said you're going Luke Fickell?
I think that's probably. I mean, that's your best looking hire right now after everybody else has moved. If you're Oklahoma, that would be your best hire.
So Luke Fickell, Matt Campbell,
Brent Venables, maybe.
As I
he
say,
was an
he's right.
assistant at Oklahoma as well, I believe.
But that's who I think is leading the talk right now. Is
Yeah,
Brent
he's
Venables.
got
That
plus
would
400 odds.
I think that would be your.
500.
I think that would be your best hire actually with Brent Venables because he hasn't taken
Stoops,
another
too.
job either.
Mark Stoops being thrown in that conversation.
Mark Stoops, but I mean, granted, he's taking Kentucky from nothing to making it at least a formidable.
Think about
SEC
if he had the
opponent.
resources at Oklahoma versus
That's
Kentucky.
true.
So.
That's true. But that's what I'm. It's one of the. You can say the same thing about Billy Napier. Can he win at a much bigger stage? He's at Kentucky where not a lot of is expected out of him, right?
Right.
You go to
No, that's
Oklahoma.
true. That's true.
A
Yeah.
lot is expected out of you from Oklahoma. We just talked about they've been successful for 30 years. You got to match that success. But yeah, that would be my pick. Do you have a pick, a favorite? I would say Brent Venables would be my pick. He reminded me of that.
I think it's Luke Fickell.
Luke Fickell.
I think he's done his dues, and he's taken a Cincinnati program to now where they're a borderline playoff team. He has nothing else left to prove. So
agree.
and he served on a staff with Urban Meyer and shown that he can.
He has nothing else to prove. He doesn't have to prove anything. I think he'd be a great
ready
hire.
to take that next big step to be a top 5 program.
I don't know if he's going to leave Cincinnati until he finds like his perfect job. Money talks.
Oh, Steve,
I
with
agree.
the money talks,
Money
my
talks.
friend.
Money
Who would ever thought that someone would ever leave in my lifetime? I would never thought I'd ever hear a Notre Dame coach leaving for LSU.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy
That,
times.
I mean, it's actually a crazy thing about that because I mean Notre Dame. I mean, guys,
Is this
we would
gonna
consider
be-
Notre Dame a top 6, top 7 job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely
I mean-
top 10. If nothing else, top 10. Easy.
If anything, I thought Brian Kelly would leave for the NFL before he left for another job in the college.
I was going to
football.
say, is this
I mean,
going to be the biggest year of the biggest jobs opening all at the same time? Because we've had Florida, USC, LSU, Notre Dame, and
Yeah.
Oklahoma all
Yeah.
job openings, which you can say those are all top 10 job openings.
all you're missing is Alabama and Texas, and you have all three, all the biggest schools in the country.
Alabama,
for college
Texas,
football,
maybe
yeah.
Georgia. You can
Yeah.
argue Georgia.
Yeah, I mean,
Clemson,
it's-
maybe,
yeah.
just because they've been so good lately.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I
yeah,
mean,
this is huge.
So the next looking on for the next 5 years, Florida,
Okay.
USC. We don't know about Oklahoma, so I'm not going to throw them in there. So Florida,
LSU.
USC, and LSU.
Okay.
Who has,
I know
who
where
has
he's
the
going
most
with this.
successful
Okay.
season?
Yeah. So the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say it's USC and Lincoln Riley because of the conference they play
Yeah,
in.
I would say
think
that-
for Florida and LSU, for Kelly and Napier, it's going to be harder because you already have beasts in Alabama and Georgia in the conference. For USC and Lincoln Riley, your type of system is built for the quarterback. I mean, look at all the quarterbacks out of LA area. Y'all just named all the ones that came out of the LA area, like Matt Corral, Bryce Young. Lincoln Riley's going to get a guy in the next 5 years. So
Lincoln Riley,
I'm pretty
sure.
USC,
I'm pretty sure
yeah.
he brings his defensive coordinator with him. I'm pretty sure he brought him with him
Oh, yeah.
to USC.
So I think
that
it's 100%
defense
USC.
obviously at Oklahoma has looked better this year than in previous years. So he brings that with him. I mean, I have to agree with Cole. You have a much weaker competition. You have a much better recruiting bed. Sneaky LSU though. Sneaky. I think obviously that's what we talked about.
I think the better question is between Kelly and Napier, who has better time in,
that's
in
a good
the
one,
SEC.
too.
And
I'd go Brian Kelly.
I would lean
so
towards Brian
tough.
Kelly. I don't know
Because you got Alabama, in
Right.
the West, Georgia in the East. So
you have Texas A&M. Now the SEC coaching is
It's great.
crazy.
It's a
You have
it's a
Nick
great
Saban,
conference,
Jimbo
yeah.
Fisher, Brian Kelly, and Kirby Smart, and now you have Billy Napier. And, you can Lane Kiffin,
Heupel.
Mike Leach.
You have guys that are
Heupel.
already proven in
It's
college
crazy.
football. It's
then you have-
a conference. It's why it's the best
They
football
have
conference out
Shane
there.
Beamer has
Steve.
been
Shane
mentioned
Beamer.
for Oklahoma as well. So Shane Beamer's putting South Carolina back on the map a little bit.
And of course, Bill O'Brien's been mentioned for the Virginia Tech job. Apparently, I
Well,
just saw
Virginia
that late
Tech
last
hired
month.
their
Is it
Penn
already
State's
done?
defensive coordinator.
Brent
Okay, so
Pry.
it's already done.
Yeah.
Okay, already taken care of. So a lot of coaching changes, big momentum swings, and wait, guys, this is just the beginning of the week. We have a feast of
I was
college
about to
football
say, we're gonna have
this
to
weekend.
So I definitely want to talk about the SEC. I think the rest we're just gonna have to move through and make our picks really quick.
Yeah.
Because we have talked for an hour, which deservedly so. We've talked for an hour about last week and the coaching carousel.
It was huge.
Heisman.
It was huge.
Completely deserved an hour.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the SEC and then let's go through the rest of the slate pretty quick here.
Yeah.
So the SEC game, the big game, the one that everybody's gonna be talking about, the major playoff implications with this one. Alabama basically plays at Georgia in
Yeah.
Atlanta. Number
Right.
3, Alabama. What do they? Georgia's a 6.5 point favorite in this game. If you're asking me, I think that's the easiest bet of your life to take Georgia minus 6.5. That is might be the easiest bet ever. What does Alabama have to do to win in this game?
So you're basically making a case as to why Alabama. Now look, if you swapped the two teams, picture this way: swap the resumes, swap the players, and the names, whatnot.
Yeah.
If Alabama had Georgia's record and their
Alabama would be a 15.
that's what I'm saying.
Favorite?
If you swap the two teams,
It's
and with the
100%.
names,
It has Saban.
it's because of Nick
the
Saban.
Saban
Alabama.
line.
Because you have Nick Saban, you always have a chance.
Yeah.
So Alabama undoubtedly is going to be Saban as an underdog is 4-1
What?
since 2008.
Who's lost to?
And it's only the 5th time in 14 years that they've been a 7-point underdog.
It's crazy.
Or less.
They've only been they've been favored in every game except
Oh,
for
yeah.
5
Well,
since 2008.
I mean, Alabama's
Insane.
been completely dominant.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I was
So
going to say, this is a completely, Bama has owned, I cannot talk. Bama has owned the mental, they have Georgia's mind. They can play mind games with Georgia all day long because they've owned them recently, right?
are we going to make a case for this and then make our pick?
Yeah. I
Okay.
want y'all to give me how Alabama. We don't need to know
The
how Georgia
formula.
wins.
You want the
I
formula.
want
You
the
want the
formula.
formula, okay.
I don't need to know how Georgia wins. We can all say how Georgia wins. They
Yeah.
just
Okay.
play how like they've been playing.
What's
right?
the formula?
Georgia wins.
Alabama needs to stay balanced, obviously. It's going
It's
to
gonna
hurt
be
if
tough.
Brian Robinson, even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%.
Right.
He's most
He's
likely
gonna be
out. So you're
half,
most
he's gonna
likely
be
starting with
50%,
Trey
yeah.
Sanders at running back
So
for Alabama.
you're looking at a lot of screens, probably, a lot of like misdirections, jet
Big game from
sweeps.
Jamison Williams, I think, is what your key
So
here is.
big
I
game from
think-
James. Also, we didn't talk about that. We can mention that just real quick. I think that completely changed Alabama's offense in the Auburn game.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
him
yeah.
going out in the first half was
Didn't have
huge.
another reliable receiver other than
Huge.
John
Yeah,
Mechie.
no,
Slade Bolden,
that's
I
huge.
guess. You had Slade Bolden.
I hate you. I did mean John Mechie, by the way, earlier. I am sorry. I
okay.
didn't want to admit my
It's
mistake,
okay.
but I did
It's
mean
okay.
John Mechie.
I tried to
I'm
save
sorry.
you. I tried.
You did.
I tried.
I wanted to die on the hill. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I was going to just die on the
You
hill.
live and die with Slade Bolden, baby.
I was going to die on the hill.
But
Anyway.
yes, so big
Hey,
game.
a
James
big game
Williams.
from Slade Bolden Saturday would be
There you go.
Hey,
It'd be huge.
If Nick Saban wins this game, is this the best game, coaching wise, that he's won in his tenure
Without
at
a doubt.
Alabama?
The cards are completely stacked against that with the offensive line issues.
This is the let's put it this way.
injuries.
This is the biggest. Like it is only a 6.5 point. This is the biggest underdog he will be since 2008.
Yeah.
Let's say that. Let's put it that way.
I can't
But-
remember a time where I think the confidence in a Nick Saban coach team was at its smallest than it is this week.
That's what I'm
against
saying.
Georgia
Since
team. I
you
don't
can
think
say
I've ever
2007 maybe would be the 2008.
seen- literally his first year. I think
Maybe
would be the last
2010
time.
after they lost
maybe,
a couple.
Maybe in 2008 or 2009 when they played those Florida
That's
teams.
what I'm
with
saying,
10 teams.
2008,
It
yeah.
had to be one of those games, I
Yeah.
guess.
But
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was I was gonna say I agree. Let's in the game. I think Alabama has to spread the football. Keep out which Georgia's defense is very fast. It's not like teams haven't tried this. Keep the football on the edges because you're not going to win that defensive line. You're just not. I don't think you're going to win. Up front.
No, I don't think so either.
So keep the ball
It's gonna be on
spread.
the- it's going to be a one on the outside.
Quick
for sure.
passes.
Yeah.
Jamison
Yep.
Williams and John Mechie obviously have to keep having their big games. You're gonna. I think honestly because you don't have Brian Robinson, your offensive line has not showed they can get good push. You're probably gonna have to throw the ball 40 times.
Probably 50
If
times.
they
Yeah.
score over
40, 50.
24 points, do they win the game?
If Alabama scores how many points?
24.
Over 24.
No team has scored over 24 on Georgia. No,
Oh,
scheme,
I
no
want
team.
if Alabama can score 24 to 30 points, absolutely, they're winning the game.
Did Tennessee?
Because let me just
Tennessee's
say
the most
this.
points, right? Against
They
Georgia
scored
this year,
like,
17.
17.
That's the
Yes.
most points, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All people want to talk about, the only element of this game I've heard people talk about so far is Alabama's offense versus that potent Georgia defense. But what people are not talking about is the fact that Will Anderson and that Alabama defense is pretty dang good.
Yeah, but they haven't been all year. They have not
been up and down.
They've come
down.
into form a little bit, but still, you look at.
Yeah.
They played insane against Auburn, right? Look at Arkansas. They didn't play good against Arkansas. You look at the
No,
week before
they
that.
didn't.
Who they played the week before that?
That was that was Mexico State.
No, it's sorry, 2 weeks.
LSU.
Yeah, LSU. They didn't play great.
The defense, they won the game for them.
Great
that closing
though?
drive.
You're gonna say great?
The defense against LSU, Steven, that was good. They played good all game. The 2 touchdowns they scored, one was off of a fake punt. I mean, come on. I mean, that's
Game they lost,
No,
Texas
no.
A&M.
Okay, now that one was bad. That was a bad defensive performance.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
was a
though.
bad performance
The
as a
defense-
team
let's
altogether.
put it this way.
though.
Let's put it this way. The defense has not been consistent.
Yeah.
They've had great games and they've had bad games.
And the offense
there's
has
no-
had great games, and they've had
But
bad
they've
games.
been majorly
consistent
great
most of the time.
Mostly
yes,
consistent. I mean, there's
yeah.
they had what? They've had 2 games this year where they haven't scored over 30.
Yeah.
That's pretty consistent.
LSU and Auburn.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So
I don't know. Look.
And I did see-
that is going to be a big determining factor. But I will say, if somehow Pete Golding in this defense, hey, Tyler over there is going to say, don't ever give credit to Pete Golding. But if he can somehow stop a pedestrian passing game from Stetson Bennett, because let's just call it like it is, this Georgia offense is not flashy.
no, but
They're not flashy.
and
at
we
all.
talked about this a couple weeks ago. They're not flashy, but they're somehow scoring over 30 points a game. They're not flashy. They're not doing anything crazy.
Right.
They're just dominating.
Okay, well, Steven, give me your pick. If you had to call it right now, it's a 6.5 point favorite for Georgia. Are you taking Georgia in the points?
Oh yeah.
And the points.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's easy. That's what I'm saying. That's a touchdown. Georgia has to win by a touchdown. They've beaten every team by a touchdown. Even Clemson, their close game, they won by a touchdown.
I told you before. I told you guys this a few weeks ago that we're just waiting for that other shoe to drop for this Georgia team because they haven't played bad all season.
I will say too, I saw this, Cole. Their closest games this year are the ones they've been tested, if you want to say tested. Clemson, and I forget who else it was.
Arguably the best defense they played all year was
That's
Clemson.
what I'm saying. And so maybe the answer to beating Georgia is not the best offense because you saw Tennessee but they're not like an insane offense, but they were far and away the best offense that Georgia played
all year. Yeah,
I mean, they were close in the half, but they got blown out. The closest games they've had were the games against good defenses. So maybe the answer is, hey, you stop that pedestrian offense like you were saying. Maybe you give yourself a little bit more chance here, So maybe the best game will eventually be Michigan-Georgia.
Yes. I think so.
Yeah.
I think
So who do you have? Let's go on to your pick. Sorry, I interrupted, but I wanted to point that out.
Each day I've tried to convince myself that this game is going to be just Georgia, but I don't know why. This just feels like a game that Saban wins. I don't know why. The Texas A&M game, those games like that, those games are like, predictable losses. Saban's lost those kind of games. But these big games where everybody doubts Saban, these are just the games he wins. And so call me crazy. I'm going to say Alabama wins 24-20. I got Bama.
Crazy.
I
Calling you crazy.
this just feels like a game that Saban wins. I can't explain it.
I'll give it to you, Cole. He's like I said, they've owned Georgia mentally. They've owned him in every aspect mentally. When Georgia had seemed to that they were going
until they prove me otherwise. I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't think so.
Other than last year, the other 2 times, 2 out of the last 3 times they played Georgia. I mean, Georgia's
had the lead for how long in the game? I mean, like
both
a
games.
superbly amount of
Both games.
Crazy.
Georgia far and away was the better team until the end of the game. So, I mean, you could be right. They own them mentally. I just think this is a different Georgia team. I think this is
I think you're
similar,
right.
Similar to the Michigan, finally getting over the hump. I mean, this is Georgia. I feel like this is their year.
But this is the thing, Steve. I think this is one of those things where, like with Michigan finally beating Ohio State, we have to just see it to believe it.
That's fine.
Until
Yeah,
we see
that's
it,
fair
we're
enough.
just going to keep saying, well,
Fair enough.
They know what they have to do to get to the college football playoff.
Exactly.
They
And
know what they have to
Georgia,
do.
I think another thing that plays in this game is Georgia knows that even if they lose, they're still
They're
going to
still
get
in.
it. So that leaves them a little bit less of an edge to play in this game than Alabama, who is going to come here with a chip on their shoulder.
I feel like that almost gives them the advantage because I feel like they're
not
going to
play as tight.
They're not going to play as tight.
That's true.
They're going to play loose.
It could go both ways.
To me, it gives them a little bit more of an advantage because they're like, hey,
more
we don't have to win this
relaxed.
game, but we're just going to win this game kind of
Yes.
thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Tyler,
Be the deciding factor.
Last but not least, one's got Georgia -6.5. The other's got Alabama money line.
points.
Money line, baby.
I'm kind of with you, Cole. Like, I've had a bad feeling, or like a weird feeling, not even a bad feeling about it all week, but the later we've gotten into the week, I feel kind of good about
different. It's just different.
So I think Alabama kind of pulls the upset.
I
be
think
honest.
so, too.
I just have a
I
funny
think so,
feeling.
too.
I can't tell you why, but I just think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder coming in, and ultimately that's going to be
I
the
think it's
deciding
because
factor.
they have heard all season long and for the last few weeks is that Georgia is just better. Georgia's better.
Yep.
Well, Tyler,
and they're all human too, just like us.
They are.
That weighs down on players. You can't tell me that is not bulletin board material. I'm sorry.
They are, but I'm just saying. I think that everybody, a lot of those Georgia players, obviously Kirby Smart was coach of those games. I mean, they remember. They remember.
They
so
know.
This
Second
is,
and 26.
I don't think. I was gonna say
the Jalen game.
I don't think they need any more motivation
I don't
to
think
be
so
able to
either.
beat Alabama.
You don't.
And they've
at
already
this
played
point.
great
No.
with little probably motivation all year. So
Wow.
I don't know.
So
Tyler, this is also who this is. This is Big Cat's game of the year. Georgia -6.5. Just so you
Wow.
know. Game of the year.
He's taking. Oh
Game
wait,
of the
so his
year.
game of the year, he's taking Georgia in the points.
Game of the year.
Wow.
He's only
How many times has he won the
In
big
fairness-
game of the year?
He probably has a horrific record.
in betting overall, yes, because he bets like 40 games a Saturday. But he had one other game of the year this year, and it was Pitt versus North Carolina.
And he
They
called
won
it
in
right?
overtime. They won it. He had Pitt -6, and they won by a touchdown in overtime.
From a game with a lot of luster to one with none, and that is the Big Ten championship game, which will be played on Saturday evening. John Harbaugh, or not John Harbaugh, sorry, excuse me, his brother. Jim Harbaugh. Michigan is trying to obviously get to the playoff. They had to go
Right.
through the Iowa Hawkeyes. They somehow
big
sneak
test.
back in. They get back to the Big Ten championship somehow after playing so bad. They still get
my
in there,
Hawkeyes, baby.
So we'll just talk briefly about it because there's not much to talk about this game because it's going to be an absolute, just probably ugly game to watch, just unwatchable. But
I will say that Michigan's not. Again, they're similar to Georgia.
the two teams, Iowa, Michigan, they play.
That's what I was
similar
about
ball.
to say. They're very
It's
similar.
just Michigan has better athletes than
Michigan's a
Iowa
little bit
does.
better.
Yeah.
Michigan's a little bit better. So I mean, I'll
Their
take
style
Michigan.
of play very similar. Though.
I'll take Michigan though, but I don't. They're coming off. This is a classic letdown. I don't think they're gonna.
That's true.
I don't think they're gonna
Classic
lose the
letdown
game, but classic letdown in that they're not gonna cover
gonna be
10 and a
close.
half. It's
Yeah.
gonna be close. Michigan's gonna win. They're a better team than Iowa, but classic letdown.
It's 10.5.
10 and a half.
Michigan has two players that currently rank 1 and 2 in the Big Ten with sacks.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson and Ajabo. He has 11. Absolutely ridiculous. They just know how to pressure the quarterback.
They're as I say, their defensive line, and we can talk about this for every team. I think we've mentioned it several times over the weeks. You win and lose football games in college.
Pressuring the quarterback and protecting your quarterback. That's how you win
Offensively,
games.
line
It's
and
real
defensive line.
easy.
Good thing
Offensive
that
line,
Iowa
defensive
doesn't
line.
pass a lot.
yeah, Iowa doesn't pass a lot. So,
Yeah.
hey, maybe they could just run for 300 yards and
There
beat
you
Michigan.
go. Hey, that's how Michigan State won.
But I'm with you. I like Michigan. I think there will be a little bit of letdown, but I still got them by 10.5, though.
10.5.
I still
Tyler?
got 10.5.
Yeah,
I
don't lean
think
back.
they
You're still
cover.
in this.
Yeah, I had a stretch. I don't think they cover, but they win.
Okay, so me and Tyler on the same boat there. All right, Big 12 championship. This one's got some implications here.
Definitely got some
we already
implications,
mentioned it a little
for
bit
sure.
before.
Yeah.
Number 9, Baylor, and number 5, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, they've already won. I think Oklahoma State's the better team. I don't think this is one of those where it's hard to beat a team twice. I just think Oklahoma State's better.
I completely disagree. I think that's
you think
exactly
you think
what
it's
it
what's
is.
going to happen?
I think
Okay,
that's exactly
I like
what it
that.
is.
I'll have
It's
Oklahoma
hard
State.
to beat a team twice.
It
and
is
win
very
the game.
hard. I'm
That's
not saying
hard.
it's easy. I just think the Oklahoma State's better.
Yeah.
So I'll take Oklahoma State.
It all depends on if Gary Bohannon is healthy for Baylor, because I have seen where he has an ankle injury that's bothering him, the quarterback for Baylor. So if he's able to play and he's kind of remotely healthy, I got the Bears.
So you got the Bears. I
I got
got
the
Oklahoma
Bears, the
State
upset.
and the points. You like your money line over there, aren't you?
I am.
Money line
I'm
guy.
riding the money line
Okay.
this week.
I don't believe in Oklahoma State.
Okay.
I don't-
you got Baylor
I-
too?
Yeah, I'm
Wow,
on the Bears.
money line guys. There we go.
After they lost
We've
to
been on
Iowa
Baylor a
State,
few
I mean-
times this year.
Yeah,
Baylor's
like
won
3
its money.
times.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave Aranda, man.
2-1 with them. So.
The guy's a
There you
betting
go.
machine.
And then finally, the AAC championship. This is the last one that has playoff implications. Cincinnati, will they finally be tested when they play Houston? They are a 10.5 point favorite. I believe Houston's ranked 24th
They are.
Cincy
they
is
are.
number
Yeah.
4. Obviously, a huge
What's
game
the
for
spread?
Cincinnati.
10?
10.5, same as Michigan.
Wow. What do you got?
I think Cincinnati
Rolls?
rolls. I think they roll.
Wow.
I think Cincinnati says finally because they rolled last week. They rolled the week before.
So
I
you think
they
they've just been bored these last few weeks?
Well,
Now
I think they finally
got
get
some-
up. They say, "Hey, this is our big chance. We can. We have a
There's only
chance."
6 games on Saturday, so,
So
I mean,
you're
hey,
telling
this is
me.
our chance
So
to,
you're telling me there's a chance. You know what I'm saying? So I think they win. I think they mop Houston.
I think they're going to win the game, but Houston, this is no Shirley Temple, Stephen.
I don't think they're easy. I just think
Clayton
Cincinnati's
Tune
better.
and this Cougar offense, Clayton Tune.
Clayton Tune.
Wow, what a name.
Don't they only have one loss on the season?
One
One
loss is
loss.
the beginning of the season to Texas Tech. They've rattled off 11 wins. They have scored 7 times this year, over 40 points. This Houston team
Crazy.
can score.
Cincinnati's
points.
defense is
So
good, though.
Cincinnati better watch out. I got the Bearcats 41-38 over Houston in the title game.
41.
Close game. Close
41
game.
to what? 41 what?
38.
30.
Cincy
Close
winning.
game. Cincy winning.
Okay.
Yeah. I still think
Thought you
Cincinnati
said
wins,
Houston
but-
for a second, but
No,
yeah.
no. I still got Cincinnati winning, but Houston's a
Tyler,
good football team.
Cincinnati's
I'm with
defense
you.
is pretty good though.
I'm kind of with you, Cole. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be come down to the last possession.
I think so
close.
too. I think Desmond Ritter and the Bearcats have to find just a way to win in the last few minutes.
But
All right.
Yep.
I think they pull it out.
So y'all got close games. I got Cincinnati rolling. Let's go on to the other championships real quick. Number 10 Oregon versus number 17 Utah. This game is in Las Vegas.
It's on Friday too, right? It's on tomorrow night.
I do not know.
I think it's
Probably.
tomorrow night.
Should have
Yeah,
wrote that.
it's
tomorrow night.
Should have wrote that down. Never write that down. You say that every time, and I never know.
I said that because I know it is tomorrow
Okay,
night.
there you
I
go.
saw the commercial
Friday.
for it. It's tomorrow night.
Well,
I just wanted to test to see if you knew.
well,
or
hey,
not.
you knew Slade
Yeah.
Bolden too, so you
Yeah,
know.
that will haunt me to this day. So
Utah is a 2.5 point favorite. I got Oregon.
I don't think there's any way Utah's going to win this rematch. I mean, especially after they blew them out a few weeks ago. I mean, again, it's hard to.
I was gonna say
Beat 'em
we're
twice in
going.
one
We
year,
went with
so-
2 times in a year. This is the one that I'm gonna use that you can't beat them 2 times in a year, but the other one I'm not.
Because Oregon's really good. So I
They
mean,
are.
like it's just a different story. So yeah, I got them winning, and it doesn't this feel like the same old script every year? Oregon struggles with one team or loses a game they shouldn't, and they still get the Pac-12 title game, win, and go to the Rose Bowl. So they're gonna do it again. Yeah, Oregon.
Tyler.
I kind of like Utah in this
There we
game
go.
a little bit.
Oh.
Okay, be different. Be different.
I don't think Oregon's
This will be
that
Utah's
good.
first ever title game.
That's
or title
crazy.
win.
That's
crazy.
They've
First
been in
ever.
it a lot.
First ever.
I feel like they have
Look at the
two.
record.
They've never won it. First
Utah
one.
over the past
Third straight for Oregon if they win. First ever for Utah.
Third straight for Oregon.
Third straight if they win it. Third straight.
God, I don't feel like
They've won it.
Oregon's been that good lately.
yeah, I
Be their
know.
third in a row. That's how bad
So
the
you like
conference is.
Utah, we like Oregon.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Last one, the ACC championship. Number 15 Pitt versus number 16 Wake Forest. This game is in
Who would have
Charlotte.
thought a few months ago that neither North Carolina or Clemson would be in the ACC title game? Neither one of them.
Nobody.
That's crazy to think about.
That's crazy.
Pitt is a 3-point favorite. I like Pitt. Give me some Kenny Pickett.
I like Kenny Pickett, and I think both him and Sam Hartman are going to throw for over 400 yards. It's going to be a very high scoring game. These defenses are awful.
Be a fun
Both
game, at
Pittsburgh
least.
and Wake Forest.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
I think it'll be a fun game, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Is this game on it? Not on Saturday?
This is on Saturday.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
this is
making
actually-
sure. Make sure.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh is a better team though. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Pitt.
Pittsburgh wins.
Pitt. We got a lot of Pitt. All right, so let's move on. Let's just quickly go over some NFL recap because we haven't talked about it. The NFL recap this week, I don't really want to talk about every game. Not
No.
necessarily all the
No,
games are
no,
that
no.
interesting. I do want to get from you
Some
guys
pretenders and contenders.
some pretenders and contenders.
So I have a few teams I was going to throw out to you guys and let y'all just kind of just say.
Okay, I like
pretender or
it.
contender.
I like it.
All right, so I'll start with my first team. What do you got? Tennessee Titans. Are they a contender or pretender, Steven?
I think they're a pretender, and I will tell you that I think they're really missing Derrick Henry. I
Yeah.
think that they obviously had that gauntlet of games. They stepped up for it. I think they're going to regress a little bit. They're probably exhausted.
But they'll win the division just because there's no one else to win.
The division's terrible.
But they're a pretender.
I would say they're a
pretender.
pretender. I don't think they are legit. Now, with contender, I'm saying they have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I don't
100%,
think the
yeah.
Titans
No.
have a chance.
No.
Tyler?
They've lost 2 straight and arguably the biggest game to the Patriots last
Titans,
weekend.
contenders,
so.
or pretenders?
I think they're pretenders.
Pretenders.
I think they're
so we're all
pretenders.
pretenders here. All right, what's your
Yeah,
next team?
pretenders.
Give me your next
the
team.
LA Rams, contenders or pretenders? You're going to stick with your Super Bowl pick here, Steven? We'll talk about that here in a minute, but are you
let's-
so confident? Are they a contender? The LA Rams.
Confident? Absolutely not. I will say, though, one of the things that they've changed a lot is they've been, I think, are the number 1 or number 2 teams in play action the last like 3 or 4 years, or under Sean McVay. They've been top 5 in play action.
Yeah.
They are, I think, 22nd this
Yeah,
year
it's
in
not
play
good.
action.
It's not
I
good.
think that he said that, hey, I've got a quarterback that I really like to air it out. I want to just spread it out a little bit. I think if they regress back to that more play action that has made them successful, I mean, Darrell Henderson's not a bad running back. It's not like they have bad running backs.
No.
So I think if they regress a little bit more to that, they can start playing better, give their defense some breaks, not have to play the air raid offense. Like, just go back to what was working, Sean McVay. You got to a Super Bowl off of running strictly play actions, Go back to that a little bit. I think you can be a contender. They've got all the talent there. Right now, I would say pretender. If we're talking about right this second, pretender.
Yeah, I would say pretender because they have one win, guys, against a team with a winning record.
Yeah,
it's
been
not
bad.
good.
It's
They
been
have
bad.
not
They're
beat a winning
definitely
football team.
pretenders just
Pretender.
because of that fact.
And then of course, you have Odell just coming in, and they're trying to figure out how that all works.
Yeah.
So I think the LA Rams are definitely a work in progress.
They've already had their bye week too, so it's not like
Yeah.
you can say like bye week and then you can get it fixed. This game, they do have the Jags coming up. That's kind of a get right game for them. I think
Hopefully.
maybe they can. Hopefully, as I say. So.
Next team I got is the Kansas City Chiefs, contender or pretender.
I think right now, they're stepping into form here, Cole. They're dangerous.
I know,
They just
that's
beat
what I'm saying.
just beat the
I'm telling
Cowboys.
you.
Had their bye week, can get
Yeah.
a little bit healthier. Their defense is playing better. Their defense is finally healthy.
Winners
I would
of
say,
4 straight games.
I would say contender right now.
I think
Everybody's
they're contenders,
Everybody's
too.
questioning at the beginning of the year, and they're coming back here.
They're
coming back
right
strong.
where they want to be here at the end of November, going into December. A playoff-looking team. I'm
Okay.
telling you.
Do we have any more?
I got 2 more for you.
Ooh.
The Green Bay Packers, contender or pretender?
Contender.
I mean, obviously got to be a contender, right?
Contender right now. I mean, their
Contender.
defense.
I mean, it's the best team in the NFL, right now. Would you say it?
Them are the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I would say them are the
would say-
Cardinals.
And since
the
Aaron
Cardinals,
Rodgers
Kyler,
is healthier, since Kyler Murray's
I'd say
banged up.
Kyler
you'd
Murray's
say-
been banged up, and they've still
Yeah.
won a couple games with Colt McCoy. If you can win games with Colt McCoy, you're a pretty good team.
And Aaron Rodgers won at Arizona with no Devontae Adams, no Alan Lazard, no nothing. I mean,
yeah,
like
as I say, they're definitely
let me ask you this real quickly. Is this Aaron Rodgers' best team from the Packers in his tenure with his stint with the Green Bay Packers? Is this
well, he's
his
still
best
got
team?
6 weeks left.
But would you say right now it's his
yes,
best team?
I would say even with
the
their
defense,
I think it's the best defense.
The running game he has with A.J. Dillon, I think
and
this is
he out for the season? What's his name? The other running back,
Aaron Jones.
Yes, is he out for the season?
I don't know. He obviously did
He
not
got
play
hurt.
last game.
Yeah.
He got hurt in the Vikings game, correct? So I don't know. I don't know what his status is. So we're all on contender for that. I'm guessing.
Contender.
And
What
then
about go ahead. You have one more?
my final team is the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay,
and
that's
obviously
awesome.
that
That
leads
was
us
gonna be my last
into
one.
tonight's game because I got to get to my
Cowboys
Saints.
and
So
the
is the
Saints.
Cowboys a legit Super Bowl contender? The darlings of the NFL.
This is to me the hardest one because I think that the Cowboys are obviously much improved from last year. They didn't have Dak. Their defense was probably the worst in the league last year. I think we can argue they've obviously got Micah Parsons and they are playing out of their mind defensively.
Very good. Very good.
Trevon Diggs is playing insane.
Shout out to your boy Dan Quinn. Looks pretty good.
Ugh. Talk about terrible head coaches and good coordinators.
Yeah, Dan
Because
Quinn's
he's
one of them.
Legion of Boom.
Yeah, Legion of Boom. Yeah.
what
They-
was he
they
doing
turned
with
into
Atlanta?
Legion of Doom when he went to
Oh, my
Atlanta.
God.
So.
Well, Super Bowl I think just ruined him. I think that Super
Yeah.
Bowl ruined him.
Yep,
ruined
it
him.
It did. So Cowboys
Um,
contender?
I'll say yes because they're getting healthy. Amari Cooper's back. I think
That's
they didn't have
huge
CD. Did
for
they have
Dallas
CD Lamb?
Cowboys.
I didn't think they have CD Lamb against the Raiders
They
either.
didn't. No.
Yeah,
He was
so
banged
they'll
up
get
too.
both of them back.
Yeah.
Obviously, that helps a lot when you have 2 top 20 receivers in the league.
Yes.
When neither one of them play, it hurts your team a lot.
Yes.
So I will go contenders. And Ezekiel Elliott may be banged up too, or he is banged up. So let's see how he goes when he gets healthy too. So I'll go contenders.
Dallas should be favored in most of the games that they have left. They could win 12 or 13 games this year and be the top seed in the NFC should the Green Bay Packers fall in these next few weeks because they have a much tougher schedule than Dallas does. But no, Dallas is 100% a contender. Getting Amari Cooper and, like you said, CeeDee Lamb back, huge
Tyler?
right
Yeah,
now.
I think they're contenders, but I guarantee
Some
that
way.
they make it to the playoffs and they lose the first round.
First round?
First round, really?
Probably if
To a
they don't
wild
get the
card
bye.
team? If they don't
Yeah,
get the
if
bye.
I'm
So they
serious.
better hope they get the bye.
No, because this is typical Cowboys fashion.
That's fair.
You know,
Tyler,
So
that's
Tyler's
very
playing
typical.
devil's advocate with the
very-
with the typical
That
Cowboys
is
stuff.
very,
Yeah, there
very
you go.
typical Cowboys. So let's go updated Super Bowl picks. I
here we go.
picked,
Yep.
I picked the Bills and the Rams.
You gonna stay with it? You have the option right now. We know enough about
6
the teams.
weeks left.
You
It's
can
kinda
change.
cheating if I
Do you
change.
want it? But I give you the option.
Do
to.
I want to? Yes. Is it kind of cheating if I do? Also, yes. If I was, let's say this, I will stick with my picks to say those are my picks. At the
Maybe
beginning
you
of the season.
maybe you just change one team. and
I
just
could
keep another
change
team.
one, but that's not okay. This is how I'm going to preface this, right? Just to save myself everywhere. I'm going to stick with my preseason picks.
Okay.
Or week 1, whatever.
So
whenever
that's
we
your
have those
preseason
picks.
Super Bowl pick.
Those are. I will stick with those.
Now
those
this
are
is
my
your- now
locked
you know
in
what you
picks.
know pick.
These are my. I know what I know. This is with the best teams that I think from both sides.
Okay.
I would go if I could pick a Super Bowl today. These are the best 2 teams playing right now. It would have to be. It would have to be the Packers and the Patriots. Those would be the best 2
Okay.
right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Do I think that Monday night is going to tell us a lot about the Patriots?
Absolutely.
A ton. And do
And
I
if
also
the
think
Bills
that
win, you'll be like, oh yeah, I called it all along. The Bills are the best.
As
team.
I said,
Yep, yep,
I
the
still
Bills
think
are
the
best team.
Rams.
Yep.
I still think the Rams can
Yeah.
round and form. Still think the Bills. I don't know what to make of the Bills. I don't know if they're good or bad. I honestly
Who
don't
knows?
know right now.
Who knows?
But I will stick with those. But I will say the top of my picks. If I had to pick them today, and I said these are the teams playing the best, it would be the Packers and the Patriots. We can also go into peaking too early with both of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who you got, Cole?
I picked this at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna stick with it. Packers Chiefs. I got
Not
the
bad.
Packers winning the Super Bowl.
Not bad.
I'm sticking with it.
Like
Tyler?
Packers, Chiefs.
Packers
That's
Chiefs.
not bad.
I said in preseason. I'm gonna keep it.
That's
still.
not
I'm staying
bad.
with it.
Wouldn't it be
Packers,
crazy
Chiefs.
if the Patriots won the Super Bowl after they get rid of Tom Brady?
Oh no, that'd
One
be, that'd
year,
be great.
and then they
Wouldn't
win
that
the
be
Super
just like
Bowl?
the biggest just middle finger from Bill Belichick? I didn't need you anyways, Brady. I got
Crazy.
Mac 10
Crazy.
I kind of like the Packers and Chiefs too
or
right
MC
now.
10. Now he's brand.
Packers
mean,
and Chiefs.
I
They're good picks.
I like the Patriots, but it's just hard like to see Mac Jones leading
Yeah.
them to a Super Bowl
In rookie year.
I mean, I can see
first
that.
year. Yeah, that'd be tough.
It's just tough.
He doesn't have insane stats. The Patriots are just playing the Patriot way. They're running the football, playing great defense. And
Is this not right now just like if you're like one of those fan bases that just hate the winners? The Warriors are winning really much, a lot, and the Patriots. So like some of these fan bases, they're just like, oh my god, they just will not
Can't get rid of them.
These
We can't get rid of
dynasties
them.
will not die.
I will. Have y'all seen? I will say this for just talking about the Patriots real quick, and then we can move on to the last question for NFL. Have you seen the stats for the first 8 games for Brady's career and the first 8 games,
Identical.
or first 12,
They're
whatever
identical.
it is? Mac Jones is a little bit better.
You know, he is a little bit better,
Little bit,
but,
but it's
they're almost
so close.
They're so similar. It's crazy. It is so.
I
nuts.
think that
yeah.
Bill Belichick is just going to go, hey, you remember those Patriots teams from 2001, 2003, you know, those championship winning teams that ran the ball, played great defense, and said, hey, Brady, just do what you need to do. This is, I mean,
Don't
Bill
lose
Belichick's
the game
doing,
for
yeah,
us.
He's doing that again.
He's doing it again.
Crazy. So let's
One
move
of the
on.
best.
Last team. I thought this was interesting. I heard it on a topic on another podcast, but we're not going to shout those out because we only shout out our podcast. And Slow Burn. We shout them out too.
Slow burn too. Yeah. Shout
What
out
is
to,
the
Jeff
like a
Stratton.
middle of the pack team? So maybe a 6-6, 5-7, 7-5, around that area.
I can't wait to hear what yours is.
What team would you least want to play in December?
I can't wait to hear
So
what
if you're a
yours is.
Bears fan, a Saints fan, Falcons fan, and our teams are doing good right now, right? Let's
Well,
say,
ironically, my Saints have to play the team that I picked for the middle of the pack.
yeah. Well, okay, you're saying later. I was gonna
Later,
say, Cowboys not middle of the pack.
no, not tonight, but
Yes.
later in the season they have to play them.
Who would you say then?
The Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay.
100%. They're winners
That's-
of 4 games straight. They've been playing great defense, and Tua Tagovailoa looks as good as he's been since he's been in Miami. So this is a team that is coming up on the up, and I think that Brian Flores and this staff is finally starting to figure out how to win some games. Tua has completed 54 of his last 64 passes. Not a playoff team. They might make a push for a wild card, but I would not want to play this team.
Well, there's 7.
And the Saints have to play them in 2 weeks. They
There's
got the
7
Giants, Saints, and Jets to finish.
What
the
messes
season.
everything up is there's 7 spots this year, so they
That's
could
true.
definitely
They
contend
could.
for that 7
They could.
spot.
They could.
Tyler,
So
middle of the pack team that you just don't want to play right now.
I'm probably going to say Washington.
Okay.
I think Washington's
Big winners,
They're playing some really
Monday
good
night.
football
Scary
right now.
Terry.
Yes,
Scary
Scary
Terry.
Terry. Heineke's playing really, really well.
they just beat
Antonio-
the Buccaneers.
They-
The
They
Washington
beat the
team
Buccaneers.
did.
They beat
Yeah.
the Seahawks. They're the back-to-back winners.
Beating the Seahawks not very impressive
like everybody.
this year.
We were talking about earlier in
won.
the season.
They still won.
Was
They
it-
still won. It was in
No,
Washington.
it was in Washington.
It was in
We
Washington.
were talking
Yeah.
about earlier in the season how their defense is like, oh, where's their defense at? You know,
Showing
they're
up a
not
little bit
showing
now.
up. Well, they're showing up now.
Man, you
Yeah.
got a ton of talent on that defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Allen. I mean, is Sweats on that team too, right?
Montez.
You
And
lost.
then,
You lost
Chase.
your. Yeah, he's out for the season.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's just kind of weird. Chase Young goes out a couple weeks ago, and then they're playing their best football.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
played.
Yep.
So
Those are two
So
very
I will-
dangerous middle of the pack teams.
So I will
say,
go with
yes.
the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh.
Now they did just lose to the Buccaneers.
Pennsylvania.
They did just lose to the Buccaneers, but
It's a close game.
I mean this is a close game. They've had several games. I mean I think they're 6-6, maybe 5-6.
something like that.
5
The
and 7,
middle of
somewhere around there.
500.
They're
yeah.
definitely middle of the
Somewhere in
pack. But I mean, you can look back at their games. And you can say they should have beat the Ravens. They had that weird Wentz
Jonathan Taylor looks
pick six.
awesome.
Jonathan Taylor looks awesome. They're a physical team too. They are one of those teams that will they want to run the ball. They want to punch you in the mouth. That is a team, if I'm a playoff team right now, that I do not want to have to play them late in December.
Didn't they just beat the Titans? Didn't the Colts beat the Titans?
They did.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're
Our pretender that we had on.
That's what I'm saying. They're winning. They've won a couple. They've lost a couple. They're not like insanely good, but they're not. They're very good, decent
right.
team.
No,
they're very
100%.
good, decent team.
Yeah.
So I think
and
that
Carson
is a
Wentz
team.
is playing.
That's what I'm saying.
He got
That's
a lot of
team,
criticism last year,
just because of the physicality.
So-
If you're a playoff team, you're trying to make a push in the playoffs, maybe or you're just getting late in the season. You're tired. You're worn out. You do not want to play a team that's going to try to run the ball 30 times.
I agree.
Good
So-
middle pack team. Those are three really
There we
good
go.
middle pack
I was going to say, I like all those picks. I honestly love all of those picks that you do not want to play. So let's move on to our NFL picks really quick here. And then we'll just touch on some MLB free agency because we get some big movers and we have the lockout. We got to talk about the lockout just a little bit.
I forgot the lockout.
Yeah, we'll
of
talk about
course.
it just a little bit.
Big shocker. Another
I was
lockout
gonna say,
for the MLB.
I mean,
who's
even-
shocked by that?
Who even thinks about the MLB?
Yeah.
Anyways, in the offseason, who thinks about the MLB?
Yeah, who?
Cowboys at the Saints. This is a Thursday night game. This game is actually
About to kick off.
Yeah, it's about to kick off.
Yeah.
So Dallas is a 4.5-point favorite. Cole.
Taysom Hill's starting, but still not enough. Dallas wins this game. No.
By 4.5?
Yeah, they cover. Yeah, 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dallas.
I like Dallas as
Tonight.
well. I just don't. I don't
A little
think
close with Taysom at quarterback, but
Probably.
it's going to be a tough game. But
Why
Dallas
did he get
still
another
wins.
contract extension?
Well, it's kind of a weird workout
It is.
situation where
It
it's like
is,
it's where
but
if he
but the
if he
incentives
keeps playing quarterback, then he doesn't get the extension. But if he doesn't,
But have
they
you
have to
looked at
keep
the
paying him.
incentives?
Yeah,
They're pretty
it's-
easy to get.
Yeah.
They're not like hard incentives.
Look,
So it's a lot of money for like, hey, just are
as
you
a
on the
Saints
team?
fan, I just wish that he would have been healthy all year because we probably could have won a couple more games.
Yeah,
if Taysom was
I don't know. If I was a
Trevor
Saints fan,
Siemian,
If I was a Saints fan, I would almost want that's so much salary you're giving to
Oh,
a
yeah.
guy like a finicky player.
I know it's not good.
I would rather
the Saints
use
are
that
cap hell right
I would
now.
just that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You're in
it's
cap
bad.
hell. I would rather use that cap on a wide receiver would be nice. You know, that'd be kind of cool
Yeah,
to have a wide receiver.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
They're a 500 team.
There you go. There you go.
500 team.
There you go.
Cowboys
Just
gonna
deal with
win.
that. Well, let's talk about my team since I just write on your team. Bucks at the Falcons.
Oh,
The Bucks
there we
are
go.
11-point favorite. I like the Bucks, but honestly, I don't. 11 points is a lot.
That's a lot of
away
points.
team.
That's
That's a lot of
for a
points in the
road team.
NFL. In the NFL, that's a lot of points. I'll take the Bucks to win. I don't know if they cover though.
I think the Bucks are kind of pissed off the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. It's been kind of a tough game. I think they got a couple injured players that are still banged up too. So yeah, I like your pick. I think the Falcons
Yeah, their
cover, but I
defense
think
still
the Bucks
isn't
win.
healthy.
It's not healthy right now. So the Bucks, I think they're still struggling right now. So yeah, I got them
Tyler?
winning, but not covering.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Sneaky-
Cole. I
sneaky
think
not
the Falcons cover
There you
here,
go. Sneaky good
especially at
Falcons.
Mercedes Benz.
Chargers at the Bengals, and they've got Cordell Patterson, who apparently is the secret to their offense. So
He's been the
He's
miracle
healthy.
maker for them. So
And
what's
he's
going
playing third string safety apparently.
he is. I saw that. He's their reserve safety.
that is nuts.
So
A man
we got
of
the
all
Chargers
trades.
at the Bengals. This is not a very good slate Sunday, but this is probably one of
Oh,
the.
yeah.
There's probably two
Yeah.
games that are decent games. This is one of them. Chargers at the Bengals. Cincinnati is a 3-point favorite.
I like the Chargers.
Chargers?
I don't like Cincinnati.
Chargers money line.
So I like Chargers.
Tyler,
Yeah, I mean, I like the Chargers. I never like the Bengals when they're favored. I mean,
I don't. I was gonna
honestly.
say I don't like that the Bengals are favored, but I do think the Bengals win this game. I think it's close, but I mean 3 points is still close. So I have the Bengals covering. They're at home.
I mean, yeah, if you have the Bengals covered, they're probably going to cover.
I was gonna
the
say,
points.
but
Yeah,
it's
they
close.
win.
I don't think they win by a lot. I
I
think
think
it's
it's gonna be a
close
fun game to watch.
I think so too. Like I said, one of the two good games. This is probably the other one. The Washington football team, Tyler's team, he doesn't want to play at the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas is a 2.5-point favorite. The Raiders obviously coming off a big win versus the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
I agree with Tyler that I wouldn't want to play this team right now, but I do think the Raiders are going to win the game. Yeah.
Cole, Tyler.
I like Washington. Even though the Raiders are playing good football, they would probably be another team that I wouldn't want to play right now. Just
Yeah.
because,
No,
even
they
though
are.
they are literally like middle of the pack,
They are, yeah.
But I mean, they're also like kind of scary good. They still have Derek Carr
they
as
can
their
beat anybody
quarterback.
on any
and-
given
He's
Sunday.
leading. You know, Derek Carr is
Oakland
leading the league in passing yards still.
Yeah,
It's nuts. He's having a great season.
Great season.
I
For
got
that
Oakland.
reason,
Oakland,
I will go
Las
with the
Vegas.
Raiders. But I think, what'd you say?
I said I got Oakland. I forget. Las Vegas. Sorry.
I got
The
Las
Raiders.
Vegas.
I got the Raiders.
Yeah, this is another one. I like Vegas, but I like them close. They cover close. Lee Corso.
than the experts say.
Last game. This is the big game. This is the Monday night game. This is probably the best game this
the best
weekend.
game of the week, yeah.
Patriots
For sure.
at the Bills. We learned a lot about both teams in this game. I think the Patriots are probably playing
AFC
the best football
seeding
right
on the
now.
line here.
There's
So
a
this is
huge
big,
game.
big
Huge
game,
game. Buffalo is actually a 2.5-point favorite because they're at home.
Of course.
I mean, I like the Pats until they start playing worse, until they start regressing. The last few weeks, they've shown me that they are scoring a lot and keeping the other team to little. And until they start showing me some regression here and mistakes, which is not. That's not
Bill
a Belichick
Belichick
way.
does not make
they don't
many
make many
mistakes.
mistakes. That's what I'm saying.
And you
I don't
know that Bill Belichick knows how much this game, how important this game is.
I have the Patriots, but I will say I think the Bills keep it close because I think the Bills have said,
Oh, it's gonna be
hey,
close. I'm
hey,
just saying that,
we
yeah.
have been playing well. Let's
Right.
step it up. We're trying to win this division.
Absolutely.
This is a division game, so big
And
game.
it's in Buffalo, so
Yeah. So Cole,
tough.
Pats.
Pats.
I got Pats for sure.
I'll give you my Tyler's picks.
Okay, give me your Tyler's-
I like the Patriots money line.
yeah, that's a great money line, great value there.
Yeah, the value at money line is great there, but it's going to be a hard fought win. So
Definitely
but,
close game.
Mac Jones is obviously playing the best. They're opening the offense up a lot more for him, and he's playing the best ball he has all year. So I
Okay,
like the Patriots.
There you go. There's our
All in the
NFL
Pats.
picks, and we'll just touch on this really quickly. I just want to ask you guys this because we've seen so much money thrown around. We've seen big names, all stars get
Some
moved.
winners and losers from free
Some
agency.
winners and losers from free
Yeah.
agency. Will this have a big impact on next season? Or let me phrase it this way: which of these free agents moved? So we've had Max Scherzer go to. I think he went to the Mets. We had
Corey
was it Corey
Seager,
Seager,
Rangers.
Rangers. Is there any moves that we've seen so far? We still have some free agents because we've had a lockdown now.
I think the biggest moves you've seen is the New York Mets. They added Mark Canha, they added Eduardo Escobar, and Starling Marte, and Max Scherzer to
Well,
pair
they kept
with Jacob DeGrom.
didn't they keep Starling Marte?
Oh,
When he already
okay.
there? Yeah.
Well, they keep
Keep
whatever.
him. Keep him. That's
Keep
good.
him.
That's
They
still
keep
good.
him. So
Still good.
they get all
Addition
those guys
by
come back.
addition.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the biggest winner is the New York Mets,
Okay.
and your biggest loser is definitely the Dodgers. You not only lose Corey Seager to the Rangers,
Yeah.
you not only lose Scherzer to the Mets, but apparently Max Muncy just announced he has a torn ligament in his elbow. So
As I say, I think those are some big winners and losers, but I also think we still have a bunch of big names left that are not going to move now because of this lockdown.
Like Correa,
Freddie Freeman still hasn't signed.
Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman still has not signed to the Braves. Insane.
Wow.
Insane that they have not signed him yet. What are they waiting on?
Well, Freddie's wanting isn't he wanting like a longer deal? But the Braves kind of like want to give him like a 4-year. But I think Freddie's wanting like a 6 to 7 year.
He deserves it. I say
that's
pay
the
the man.
rumor.
I say pay the man.
I agree, but he's
Deserves it.
also 33 years
He's
old.
32, I believe. I believe he's 32.
Yeah, so
But he hasn't slowed down. He hasn't showed signs of slowing down.
I know he wants to end his career with the Braves.
I think he deserves it. He got it. He gave him a championship. He was there through the rebuild. He's won an
Yes.
MVP.
They'll get it worked
He
out.
won an MVP last year. That's not far away. It's not like he all of a sudden won an MVP when he was 23 and then now he's 32 and he hadn't done anything
Yeah, well,
since.
look at
Agreed,
the drop off
agreed,
that
yeah.
Miguel Cabrera made.
I was to say you can argue that after the 33-year-old season, a lot of MLB players start to take a decline, but we have not seen close to decline in Freddie Freeman yet. Close. He's actually arguably improved.
Yeah,
So you think he resigns with the Braves? I'm guessing.
I do think
once
so.
this lockout is over with.
I do think so, but who knows how long this lockout's going to go? I think this is much to the players. Players are very angry right now. A lot of players. I don't know if you guys saw this. They put just a silhouette of a random player as their Twitter profile picture. I guess just to signify unity and stuff like that. I don't really understand it.
Wow.
But
Wow.
then I think players are very mad because every time they've tried to meet with owners have kind of shut them down almost immediately. There was a meeting I saw that they had like a 7-minute meeting and they were told to take a break, and then the players from the Players Association were told the conversation was over for the day after they took a break and were trying to come back. So I think this is a lot of banging heads here, and I don't know when this lockout is going to end. We don't want it to happen. It would be very interesting, though, if this actually eats into the season, spring training.
Well, interesting enough for the MLB, we have that talk going on during basketball and football season. So, hey, MLB sitting there saying, hey, we'll one-up you. Our free agency period is going to be really interesting this year.
It's been a crazy free agency so far, one of the biggest movers.
Well, and it's been a very criticized sport as far as the boringness of its free agency.
That's what
because
I'm
the last
saying.
few seasons, it hasn't been very exciting. And then this year, as
They
soon as
start
we
to
get
have it,
then the lockout happens. So, tough for
MLB is kind of high. They
but
get to hide a little bit here, too,
Right.
because there's so many other sports
there's
going
so
on.
many sports going on. We don't really
Yeah,
get to
hide a
highlight
little
the
bit.
lockout.
So let's move on. we've already got Tyler. Do you have another? Do you want to give your pick? I know you don't like to do it first.
No, that was my pick.
Okay, that was your pick.
Yeah, that was my only one.
I want to make sure. See, we've already got Tyler's picks. Cole, do you want to give your doggies? Or do you want me to go first?
I will go ahead and give the
Doghouse,
doghouse.
there we go.
Because the doghouse has been
Gotta
kind of
make sure I
underperforming the last few weeks. So I'm going to go in a much different direction where no one probably thought I would go here. The New York Jets are our underdog pick this week. 7-point dogs at home versus the Eagles. The Jets covered last week as underdogs against Houston. I think they continue that trend this week. Philly's dealing with some backfield issues with Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard being both banged up. I think Mike LaFleur and his offense has improved. And, hey, I got Zach Wilson having a big game. I think the Jets keep it closer than a touchdown. I'm not prepared yet to say that they win the game, but 7 points, I think they definitely cover. They're the underdog pick.
I would not like to pick. I mean, great pick. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I would not feel safe picking the Jets. Let's put it that way.
I wouldn't either, but with this Eagles team as much, and plus the Eagles on the road, they've been horrible this year on the road. So
Eagles are a weird team.
they're a very weird team.
Jalen Hurts coming off a 3-pick game last
Yeah,
week.
he's been banged up.
So
he's been banged up right now.
This
too.
Eagles team's very banged up. So I think this would be if you had to pick the safest time to pick the Jets, I think this would be one of the safest times.
Okay.
So that's my doghouse.
There we go. So I've got some stats here, people. Got some stats.
Let's
So I
see
got a
them.
couple of stats that I'm just going to read to y'all, and then a couple we'll play the guessing game.
Okay.
So I like to call it. I trademarked that. Okay. So let's start off with some stats to read out to you guys. So Brian Kelly, obviously we talked about him, LSU's new head coach. He is Notre Dame's all-time leader in wins. Didn't know that. It's pretty crazy. But he's been there for 10 seasons.
Over is it Newt Rockne or what's his name?
You're talking about something
The
like Newt
all-time
something.
leader. It's Rockne, right? The head coach for Notre Dame. Wow, I figured
been a
everybody
while.
else. I figured everybody else would know the answer to this
I
question.
believe
I guess.
so, but
Okay,
it's
so,
been 10 years. I wasn't
okay.
going to say over anybody. This is not a question. This is
Go
just me
ahead.
reading it.
Okay.
But however, as we all know, he is 0-2 versus Alabama in the playoffs. So when he's got to the playoffs, he's 0-2. And then furthermore, he has been outscored by 45 points in those games. So,
Sheesh.
across the two games, not good. Yeah, not good. So another stat. I've talked about it several times. How this is the year of college football craziness. We've had a lot of different teams in and out. Had a lot of different teams that we thought were good or bad, so forth. Michigan, they obviously beat Ohio State. They get their highest ranking in the playoff era since 2016. 2016, they were number 3. Obviously, that was the spotted ball where they supposedly misspotted it there.
Absolutely right.
They are now the 7th different team to occupy top 4 spot this season. So you go 7 different teams.
That's not a
in the top
lot.
4.
That's not a lot
didn't-
to
so-
change to have as far as turnover goes in the top 4. It's not a lot.
I would say I agree with you, Cole. However, obviously the top 4 doesn't come out until what is that, November? So it's only been a month.
Or October, I think, right?
So the last weekend in October? No, it's late in the season.
Oh, maybe you're right.
I think
Maybe
it's the
it's
first
later.
weekend in
Yeah.
November is when we got our first ranking.
Okay.
I believe. I could be wrong.
You could be right.
But that's just a month. So that's just 4 games. 7 different teams are cycling in and out. That's pretty crazy for like that late in the season for 7 different teams.
It's been cycling in and out. Yeah, it's been a little.
It has been. All right, so let's go to my questions here.
Right.
So a little bit of basketball here. A little bit of basketball because we don't really talk much basketball. So Kevin Durant, it's been 20 games. This is that's usually the marker for good teams versus bad teams. How are they doing so far in the beginning of the season? Kevin Durant's averaging 28.6 points per game in his first 20 games. There are only 2 players who have averaged the same or more in their first 20 games in their 14th season or later. So Kevin Durant's in his
14th season or later.
I believe it's his 14th season this year, maybe his 15th. So there's only other 2 players that have averaged the same or more points. Can you name the 2 players?
After the age of what?
It's 14th season or later. It doesn't say an age.
14th season. Okay.
14th season or later.
Average what? Average what?
28. Let's just say 28.
Has
points
to be
per
Michael
game.
Jordan. Has to be one,
What?
right?
He is not
Adrian
one.
Dantley?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not LeBron James. I know.
LeBron James is one of them.
Is he really?
2017, 2018, he averaged 28.6, the same amount.
Wow, that guy, because he's not known for mostly for scoring. That's
He's
why I would
not,
say
but that was
that's why
the
I would say
year.
he wouldn't
That was the
be.
year after Cleveland won the championship, and actually that was the year after Kyrie Irving was traded.
So he was really the only person that was really scoring for that Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah. Okay.
Also
Is this other player? Has he been playing in the last 15 years?
Yes.
Steph Curry.
No.
Kobe.
Yes.
Oh, there. I was going to go there literally next after Steph Curry.
Kobe actually did it twice. In 2009, 2010, he averaged 28.9. It's a little bit more.
Stupid me. Steph Curry hasn't even been in the league for 14 years, probably. So
close.
Probably close, but
I think
no.
it's 12th season, 11th season,
11th,
something like
12th
that.
season, so.
And then Kobe Bryant also did it in 2011, 2012 with 30 points per game.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
So,
that was when he's robbed
yeah.
of, I think, the MVP when Steve Nash won the.
No, that was
No?
That was Steve Nash won it in 05, 06, and 07, 06, 07, back to
Okay.
back. But he did average like 35 points one of those years.
Yeah. Kobe was
All right.
averaging.
So last
ridiculous
one. This is probably my best one here. So we talked about some NFL teams today. Only one team has held a 7-point lead in every game this season. Can you tell
held
me that?
a 7-point lead, not win. Held a
Only
7-point lead.
one team has held a 7-point lead in
All
every
season.
game this season.
In every game this season.
I actually saw this stat like, I don't know, a week or two ago.
I know it can't be.
Notice how I've prevented Cole from cheating now?
I'm just trying to think back to all these games that we've watched. Is it the Cowboys? No. I'm stumped. Wow. I mean, I don't want to just sit here
They've
and
had
just
a
guess
7-point
teams,
lead
so
in every. Well, you've
every
only guessed
game.
one. Do you want to have another guess?
Tampa?
No. Tampa got. If you remember, Tampa got killed by the Rams. That was the Rams' only good.
It's
The
gotta be.
Cardinals?
It's
Or
got
the
to.
Cardinals?
It's got to be a team that's like not good at all. Is it the Chiefs?
It is not the Chiefs.
Okay,
Who is it? Give it to
Give it
us.
to us.
We talked about some teams that were middle of the pack that you don't want to play. Minnesota Vikings were not mentioned. Minnesota
Is
Vikings
it the Vikings?
have
Really?
held a 7-point lead in every single game this season.
Wow. And aren't they like 5-6?
They're 5-6.
That's crazy.
Now that right there is why, but see, that's the reason why I wouldn't mind playing them because they
Yeah.
obviously cannot play when they have a
They
lead.
can't
can't,
hold
but they're
it.
still 5-6, and they've obviously they're
5-6,
close games. They're all
and you've
close
had
games.
a lead of a touchdown every game this season. Oh
Every
God!
single game.
Wow!
But that could be the 7-point could be like, hey, first drive of the game they score 7.
But
and then
they
you-
are one of those sneaky good teams.
That's what I'm saying. Sneaky good. They're decent.
Tough out.
5-6, middle of the pack.
Tough
out.
out. Yeah.
Tough out.
Hey,
and I
good-
think
good
that'll
show,
do
guys.
it.
Good
think
show.
that'll do it.
Good
Long
show.
show, but great show.
Hey, long show, but we had a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff going in this weekend. Hey, next week we have the playoffs finally settled.
Playoffs
bowl
set.
games are settled. We got a lot. We're gonna have so much. Oh
Talking
my
about
God.
some championship
We're gonna have
games.
to take like a whole show and just talk about nothing but bowl games and playoffs.
Yeah.
literally. I mean,
Our
like
bowl pick.
We'll have to do the bowl
I was about to say,
mania
let's-
show or something
next
like
week.
that.
Let's recap championship games. Talk a little bit NFL, even though it's a bad slate of games this Sunday.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about NFL, and then the next week, let's do a bowl preview.
Let's do bowl preview.
Bowl preview.
We'll
next
do
week.
it. Thanks for tuning in,
Tune
guys.
in. Watch our TikTok. Cole's gonna make some TikToks. Fire TikToks. TikTok.
I'll try.
TikTok. Tickety talk.